It's Monday afternoon. Darian Newsom producing for us. We're Sportstime, and we're with you for the next 3 hours. A lot to get to after a busy weekend of football. Some interesting scores out there. Tennessee gets the big win over Oklahoma. Ole Miss continues to roll. Memphis falls to Navy Saturday afternoon. Now today we learn that the University of Memphis, along with Tulane, USF, and UTSA will all remain with the American Athletic Conference rather than jumping to the Pac-12. So a lot to get into over these next 3 hours. But Brett, how are you this afternoon?
Brian, I'm doing well, and very different tenor and tone today to the happiness of last Monday, near and far, both on the field and off. I'm surprised at the really quick decision to stay. I thought if it was a go, that decision would have been that quick. In fact, I was told on Friday, so I would have been wrong if I'd have gone with it. Well, I was told on Friday night, so I'm going to tell on myself. I was told on Friday night by great sources, so, you miss, oopsie.
Sure.
That a formal announcement was going to be tomorrow on taking the Pac.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it felt, and I think that shows how fast
so much for that. I'm telling on myself now.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, Brett, that's kind of how it looked like on Friday, is that Memphis is going to do this, and it's going to be announced very, very quickly.
And until the last hour, I was going to start with that today.
Yeah.
So I would have looked like utter fool.
Yeah.
Like I am now looking like on undefeated.
No, I mean, I think that just shows how fast this stuff moves and I guess really how up in the air all of this was. And now we know that, it kind of been reported for a while now, probably, ever since middle of last week, that Memphis, Tulane, and USF, really those three, were in deep talks with one another. They were really kind of relying on each other to make this decision. And now we know that that's exactly what they did, and they're all going to stay with the American.
And you can only hope that Ed Scott has something to hang on to align himself with something in the future, because I don't know if a better deal will come along. Now, the final deal, the numbers, it wasn't great. Wasn't horrible either.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly wasn't the best, but you're right. I mean, I think there were some pros and cons to it, and I definitely do think, though, and we've talked about it a while, this was seems like at least a financial decision by the university, and we'll see, what comes out of it.
And the biggest con to it is, and I talked about this one day last week when I said I am not alone on the just flat being tired of seeing these teams. People are with me. Tiger football crowds, no attendance talk until the ribbon cutting for the new stadium. So I'm not going by anything this year. But in the past few years, since COVID, it has been modest at Tiger football home games. I went to the Tulane game last year, the biggest home game of the year on Friday night, pushed heavily that week, the full court press by everybody, and it was half full, and that's being kind.
Yeah.
It was half full for the biggest game of the year. And we know the home basketball crowds. Now, with this decision, for a while, you're going to see a whole lot of the Army, a whole lot of the Navy, a whole lot of Temple, a whole lot of North Texas, and a whole lot of Rice and Tulsa.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people responding with that same thing. And so, it seems like, a lot of people in the fan base, they've been tired, or they are tired of these opponents. And so, it is going to be interesting to see how the fans respond to it and what they think about this decision to stay, in this conference with these opponents, like you just mentioned, a lot of them, where, I think a lot of people think Memphis is a lot better than those programs.
Current composition of the AAC. What's the must go see game on a schedule when they pop up on it? I mean, okay, we got so and so. We got to go in conference. What is it? Give me football and basketball. What it is?
I guess it'd be Tulane for both.
Okay. Well, I go back to last year.
Sure.
On a Friday night, half full.
Yeah, I mean, but other than that, I can't really think of any team.
It's not UAB.
No, it's not UAB.
What is it in basketball? Last year, for a brief shiny moment, it was FAU. That changed quickly.
Sure.
for this year, what's the home conference basketball game? If they're playing at 1 o'clock on a Saturday, yeah, that's the one I got to go to.
I think it's still Tulane. Honestly, I think they've had good games in the past. I think that's probably it. At least just off the top of my head, trying to run through the conference.
So you better hope that can make it.
Yeah, no, you absolutely do, and it's I think it's an interesting decision because I think you're right. I think going into the weekend, and we talked about it on Friday, there was a lot of reporting. Ross Dellinger and I know John Canzano, we talked about his reporting on Friday that a decision was imminent, and we could see a decision in the next couple of days. And it really felt like, okay, Memphis is going to go to the Pac, and that it is what it is. And then kind of over the weekend, I started to see some more reporting out there from different people, kind of talking about what they were hearing. And just the more it went on, the more I was reading about it, the more I felt like, now Memphis is going to stay in the American. And this morning, John and I were talking about it when John Canzano put out his reporting that there was going to be a decision today. And I told John, I said, I feel that Memphis is going to stay in the American. And it was not, I thought it was going to be, Brett, if I'm being honest, I thought it was going to be like a 4:30 maybe, 4 o'clock type of thing.
It was quick.
Where we saw either one way or the other decision. And no, it was an hour later.
And put us out of our misery. Silly me, there was a point Friday night. In fact, I went to bed Friday night. I really thought this is how this week for us would play out. Monday, 4-0, defeated
Sure.
Navy. Tuesday, the announcement, and the happy days are here again, happy talk, until that first game in the Pac whatever.
Yeah, and couldn't have gone more opposite, Brett, than what you thought, This
diametrically opposed.
Literally. And what happened on Saturday against Navy just really, really surprising, I think, to everybody, the way that the Tigers went out and played in that game on Saturday against Navy. Made Navy look 10 times better than I think they are. Defense just was not any good in that game on Saturday.
I want people at the text line, the Sissy's Log Cabin text line, 901-360-8255, to give me a one-word description on how you feel about this conference. Passing on realigning with the Pac, one word, and on Saturday. And you cannot use this word. I'm telling you, I am at my wit's end of everything in sports, whether it's a player making a bad decision off the field, it's a coach making a bad decision on or off the field. Mac Brown, headline right now, using it, talking about he wanted to resign after Saturday. Ryan Silverfield did today in his media availability. Various people covering various teams always use this word. If it's a drinking game, it would be renal kidney failure for everyone out there. No more I'm disappointed.
Yes.
Because that's a big old whitewash of hiding other words.
Yeah.
I need a word to describe conference and Saturday from Tiger fans, and you cannot use disappointed.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's one of those words. We could put together a list of like the words
I tell you where it
every
came from.
coach uses.
I tell you where it comes from. It comes from when your parents, you would when they say,
right.
"I'm not mad at you, I'm disappointed in you."
Oh man,
no, just be good mad at me.
Oh, Brad, it makes you hurt 10 times more when they're not mad. They're just disappointed.
Well, don't be. Why were you so surprised? I am what I am.
Well, it's a good point. Over time, you should have learned, I guess. But.
Yeah, I'm sick to death of it, and it is the easy escape from using other harsher terms that need to be used.
Sure. No,
because the whole paradigm has changed around Tiger football with one horrible, here's my word, pathetic performance at Navy. Made that quarterback look like a cross between Jamel Holloway and Roger Staubach. Are you kidding me? What was he, a half star coming out of high school?
Yes, they made him look really, really good, and a lot of that was the defense. And Brett, I think I was talking.
I'm sure a great youngster. I'm sure going to represent this country well. I'll bet you he didn't go deep in high school football playoffs, and I haven't looked at it. If he was a state champion, then I apologize.
Sure. But no, they made him look 10 times better than he is. And I mean, I was talking about this.
Got to be better quarterbacks out there than the Navy quarterback.
Brett, they'll see.
Got to be better teams out there than
Sure.
Navy. I mean, I know they're 3-0. I know Army's 3-0. If they both win next week, it'll be the first 4-0 starts for those service academies since 1945. That's inside and outside days, Mr. Inside and Mr. Outside days. That's days of them playing that game at Yankee Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Navy's not winning 6 games this year.
Yeah, it's I'm more impressed with Army than I am with Navy. I was watching Army in their game on Saturday, and I actually what Todd Monken's done has been
much more impressive.
Much more impressive. But no, I mean the thing, and Brett, we talked about this a lot in the off season with Memphis when we were looking at their schedule, and we said it. We said that Navy game. You know, you look at that schedule and you look at Florida State and this big game of Florida State, you know, everybody getting up for it, and you play it, you go out and you win it. That's a scary game against Navy. And then last week, with all of the good talks about the win against Florida State, with all the Pac-12 talk coming in, you kind of forgot about the Navy game, and then Navy rolls around, or Saturday rolls around, and you got to go play Navy. And this defense that, Brett, we've talked about through the first 3 games of the season has looked really, really good, just did not show up at all. I understand it's a different style. I understand Navy shows you something different. But it was some of the things I was seeing, Brett, from that defense was just basic things that you've got to know when you're playing a team like Navy. Like
assignment football.
For instance, the cornerbacks in that game against Navy crashed every single time. You know, if you're playing a team that runs the triple option, you cannot give up the outside. And they gave up the outside play after play, time after time in that game on Saturday.
It was like spring periods and periods in August were not dedicated specific to the Navy wishbone.
That's a good point. It really did look like the team went out there and was just very underprepared, which is something we always talk about when you know you have a team like Navy. And a lot of coaches, we've talked to Coach Tommy West about it for the last couple of weeks, and he says, yeah, you spend summer, you spend that early fall, you spend spring dedicating a couple of minutes to just, hey, let's just keep in mind what we're going to see that 1 week we play Navy. And it just did not look like that Tiger defense was prepared at all for what they were going to see on Saturday.
And that game is always a spring preparation, a couple periods in August preparation, and then full game week, but also GAs, analysts, scout team. That's probably the biggest week for those guys to get them ready, and they obviously were not. Now, it's got to be coordinated from the head coach on down,
Sure.
And now the Tigers will get well against Middle Tennessee State. Middle Tennessee State's horrible.
Oh, they're really bad.
They're really, really, really bad. And then an open date, and then the trip to USF. And now you look at some of these games, I don't see that many that I would turn around. But when you have that kind of performance, I don't know how anybody with a straight face can say going to win out.
Yeah, no, and especially, I mean, you still look at some of those road games you've got, Brett. I mean, this was the first of many difficult road games, and I wouldn't have called this a difficult road game until after the game happened, but you still got to go on the road to USF. You still got to go on the road to UTSA. You still got to go on the road to Tulane at the end of the season. So it's not easy at all, and you'll have to forgive me, Brett, because I got the cousins mixed up. Jeff Monken at Army. Todd Monken I've had nightmares of ever since yesterday afternoon when the Cowboys lost again.
Brian, hearts out to you. Tough weekend.
What a tough weekend.
Your Mustangs on Friday.
Yep.
Tigers
and then Sunday.
Your Cowboys, not mine.
Your
not Darian's.
Cowboys. Your Cowboys.
It's so weird how that's happened 2 weeks in a row now. But you know, Darian, he wanted to jump back on Friday and say our Cowboys. And now I'm left in the mud.
He looked a little better. The Saints were marching in yesterday, so
yeah.
they were.
Saturday was tough for me because all I really got to watch and be able to consume on Saturday live action. I listened to a lot of the Tiger pregame on the app, and then I got to watch the first drive. And they score the first drive. I leave to go, with my day, and I'm thinking all's good. Yeah. The next time I saw a score was like 34-17. I went, what in the world has happened?
Brett, I did think about you because I guess late in the game, I guess I went out to my car for something. I forgot what I was doing, but I flipped the radio on, and I heard you on the Ole Miss pregame. Said, man,
he has no clue.
I wonder,
about a lot of things. I know him. I know he really has no clue.
I said, wow, Brett is he has no idea what's going on in the Tigers
and I
right
didn't.
now. Oh,
so then after that, that long void of, everything swimmingly going good, then 34-17, I'm going, that's too far behind. So they'll just play, chew up the clock. Then the next time I look up, they're converting the onside kick, and I said, in a dream year, you got to win some ugly, dreamy games,
sure.
and Seth's going to pull this out.
Mm-hmm. I was at dinner when that happened because I had given up. I'll be honest, Brett. I had given up on the game. I was eating dinner, and I just had it on in the background. And
if it were an election, you would have called the other candidate and congratulated him on winning.
I would have conceded. Yes, exactly. And so I'm sitting at dinner with Melinda, and Brett, as you know, I am a very superstitious person, and so we're sitting there. Tigers score. I said, okay, I still have it on. I'm still watching it. They score again, and Melinda's about ready to go, and it gets down to
Well, you can't change seats in that case.
Exactly. They've got the ball. They're starting to drive. I go, I'm sorry, Melinda. I promise we'll do whatever after this. You cannot get out of that seat until something happens. And she was like,
I really thought. I said, here they go, and in a dream year in that year. You've got to steal a game or two, and I thought they're going to do it and kind of, again, I'm joking, get sobered up and hammer Middle Tennessee State, get to the open date. All's well that ends well, and then the length of the field.
Oh, man. Yeah.
All right, Brett, to add to your point, I've been doing some research. Are you ready?
I love a good research.
Blake Horvath, high school stats.
Oh, jeez.
As a junior and a senior, like this is collectively, like he was just a junior and senior quarterback. 2-year starter. Total yards, 931. Total touchdowns, 8. Completion percentage, 48.
Where in high school?
He went to Hillard Darby in Ohio.
I don't got anything on Hillard
I
Darby.
don't know if that's big time or not.
But that's to your point. Like 8 touchdowns in 2 years.
Team didn't win a state championship or anything, did they?
No, sir, not at all.
I'd bet my right arm he was captain, but I wouldn't.
Total 8 touchdowns in 2 years.
Gee whiz.
Yeah, well.
Again, looked like.
Yeah, he was the player of the game, that's for sure.
Person born to run the wishbones.
Okay, now that was throwing the ball. As I scrolled down, 49 total touchdowns rushing.
Wow.
Okay.
Over 2 years.
That's a Navy quarterback.
That's a Navy quarterback. Yeah, that's a Navy
tailback.
Literally. Well, yeah. So we'll talk a lot more about Tigers and realignment and their loss against Navy. We'll do a lot of that in this first hour. But let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30 and 3:45. We're dedicating the rest of this hour to Tiger football talk, whether it's their game against Navy on Saturday or conference realignment. We're going to be talking Tigers the rest of this hour. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports will join us. He covers college football and college basketball for CBS Sports. We'll get his thoughts on the University of Memphis' decision to stay in the American rather than going to the Pac-12. We'll also discuss a ton of college football with David at 4 o'clock. 4:30, we'll get to our Sissy's Log Cabin. Look back at the weekend in the SEC. A lot more conference matchups this week in the SEC, so we'll talk a lot about those games. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us. We'll talk about the Tigers' loss against Navy, the game this weekend against Middle Tennessee State, and the Tigers remaining in the American. At 5:30, we'll get to our Monday Night Football pick and preview 2 games tonight on Monday. The first game at 6:30, Jaguars and Bills. A little after 7 o'clock, about 7:15, 7:20 or so, Commanders at Bengals. We'll also do our top 4 coaches all time combined for those 4 teams. So maybe one from each team, maybe mix it up a little bit more.
Where do y'all have Tom Coughlin?
I'll see you at 5:30, Brett. That's what you
agree.
call a tease. How about that? We'll see what we all have. But if you are wanting to listen to one of these games, we'll have Commanders at Bengals live right here on Sports 56 later tonight. That's
it is.
Right. It sure is.
2 legends.
Oh, absolutely. But we'll have that coverage starting at 7 o'clock right after Rebel Yell. 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Get over to Family Leisure for the world's biggest spa sale going on right now. Save thousands on in-stock hot tubs ready for delivery. Spas starting at $28.99. Cold plunges starting at $39.99. Swim spas at $17,499. Special financing, it's available. And don't forget about the huge discounts on all in-stock above-ground pools and off-patio furniture. It's priced to move. So head out to Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40.
Produced by Darian Newsom, we are Sports Time, and we're with you until 6 o'clock. We want you to be a part of our show. Text or talk at 901-360-8255. That's the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line. And all our guests will appear on that same number, 901-360-8255 at the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. We're always in our Family Leisure Studios, and as always, this hour brought to you by the one and only Lexus dealership in town at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2024 models and always special leasing options. 2025s coming really soon. Call them at 901-334-9673, but they prefer you to stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in town at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2024 flagship LS500. You'll be driving in style, driving luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day is really just Memphis. The weekend and the Monday it has been for the University of Memphis. It started on Saturday with the loss against Navy. Just a really, really bad performance by the Memphis Tigers after the big, massive win over Florida State the week before. They just could not get it done on the road against Navy. Like Brett mentioned, they scored quick. They were first on the board, and you kind of thought, okay, this is going to be a lot easier than maybe even we thought it was going to be. But after that, it was all Navy. They put up 21 points in the second quarter, 21 points again in the fourth quarter, 56 total points by Navy. You never see that from a Navy team with how much they want to run the ball. And run the ball, they did 361 yards on the ground, but they still put up 205 yards through the air. Their quarterback looked really, really good in the game. 211 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns on the ground, 192 yards passing, 2 touchdowns through the air. And the defense, this defense that we've been talking about for so long, since before the season started, of how good it could be, just they were not up for the test. They could not stop Navy. They could not stop that option, and Navy really did whatever they wanted. Especially kind of in the middle of that game, later in that game, it felt like every single play Navy ran was for positive gain, and not just a yard or two. It felt like 5, 6, 7 big chunk yard plays pretty much every time they snapped the ball. Offensively, the Tigers suffered some injuries throughout the game. Greg DeWosier did not play for the Tigers after getting banged up against Florida State. Rock Taylor left during the game with an injury. Kobe Drake left late in the game with an injury. Seth Hennigan threw for 368 yards. Brandon Thomas led the team with 125 yards. Mario Anderson 117 yards, but just couldn't do enough against that Navy team. And then today, the Tigers, along with Tulane, USF, and UTSA, decided to remain in the American Athletic Conference. It feels like this was a financial play by them to stay in with the conference. It sounds like the Pac-12 was not going to give a ton of money to cover the exit fees. There's still a lot of uncertainty about TV deals and what the revenue would look like from the conference. So we'll see if it pays off for them. But right now, University posted it shortly after. They are committed to the AAC.
Good luck. Good luck in the ticket selling office. And this is a good case of right now, and it's everywhere. Every big capital expenditure, construction or otherwise, you just can't have all that because you're going to have to pay the players. Mm-hmm. And used to, and maybe 3 years ago, you could have somebody step up and go, hey, we'll take care of the difference in that exit fee. Well, now that somebody or somebody's, that money's going to NIL. Nowhere can do it all. My top story, the high of last week doesn't touch this low. Pathetic performance for Memphis on the road at Navy made Blake Horvath just look like he's so good. Those rushing high school numbers even confirms more to me is sell out, totally make him pitch the ball.
Yes.
Make him pitch every time coming out of the wishbone. You can cling to win out. I don't know if you watch Saturday. I don't know, and you watch that annihilation. I don't know how you can cling to winning out.
No.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day was the day of NFL football yesterday. What a interesting day of football in the National
My Steelers are undefeated.
I'm sorry, what?
My Steelers 3-0.
Bo's gonna love to hear that tomorrow. How about that? They know how to win games, Brett. You mentioned it. 3-0, a 20-10 win over the Chargers. Leaned on their defense, and their defense really looked good. The Broncos got their first win, a massive 26-7 win over the Buccaneers. Cowboys lose again. They dropped 2 straight, now 0-2 at home with their loss against the Ravens. And the Packers, they walk into Nashville with Malik Willis, the Malik Willis revenge game. And they get the big 30-14 win over the Titans and Will Levis, who has really struggled to start the season. A very interesting day in the NFL.
8 turnovers already for Will Levis. In Nashville, certainly after the year of playing in Memphis and playing at Vanderbilt, since they've been at the current stadium, wasn't yesterday the lowest of the low on the field for the franchise?
It felt like it, yeah. It really did.
To have to suffer the indignity of losing to Malik Willis.
Yes. And Malik Willis, I still don't think is a NFL quarterback, but that game plan that they decided to run for him with the Packers, it makes him look good.
My not top story, the Tennessee Vols absolutely deserve to vault in the AP ranking ahead of Ole Miss. They should have moved ahead of Alabama and maybe even Ohio State. Tennessee with a neutral demolishing of NC State and a win on the road at OU is more impressive than the Ole Miss 4-0, and it's more impressive than the Bama 3-0. One less game. Same for the Ohio State University, one less game. See, that's not that hard to be able to, on Memphis radio, to be able to call it like you see it about a team that you do cover, and I do and love Ole Miss. But Ole Miss's 4-0 is not as impressive as Tennessee's 4-0.
No, it's definitely not.
And it's not that hard.
No, it's not hard at all, but man, Tennessee did look good, and Oklahoma, man, it could get rough for them in the SEC. They
go to Auburn this week, and early fork in the road game for Venables and Hugh Freeze.
Oh, you were right about that, and we'll get to more of that at 4:30 with our Sissies log cabin look back at the weekend, the SEC, because it was interesting games for both those teams. But that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about the Memphis Tigers. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa set. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa
glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit BenswingerGlass.com. Binswanger Glass.
All 650 acquisition fee, 20,000 miles per year, 20 cents excess mileage, Forte, RE 794, 626, MSRP 21,820, Telluride RG 543,666, MSRP 39,835, Sportage S734,0278, MSRP 29,135, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 695, includes tax title and license, must finance through Hyundai with approved credit, valid through 9/30/24, dealer.com.
Hey, Jeff Allen, I hear it's a family affair over there in Gossett Kia, South Mount Moriah.
Yep, we've got something for everyone. 41 MPG Highway and a 2024 Kia Forte LXS, $199 a month, $37.99 due at signing. 2025 Kia Sportage, $269 per month, $34.99 due at signing. And a 2024 Kia Telluride S front-wheel drive, $359 per month, $39.99 due at signing. And a 2024 Kia EV9 Lite rear-wheel drive has 0% for 72 months available. You haven't heard 0% in a long time.
Plus, all those bad boys come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
I don't think we really need anyone else to help us tell everyone how great Central Barbecue is.
Oh, I don't think we need it either, but I just thought it might be fun to have somebody more famous than us chime in on the best barbecue in Memphis.
Well, did he talk about how Central Barbecue slow smokes its meat for 24 hours to make sure that it's perfectly tender and doesn't need a sauce?
Well, no, not exactly.
Well, did he talk about how there are Central Barbecue locations all over town?
No.
Did you write his copy for him?
I didn't want to be insulting.
So what did he say?
Hi, I'm Dave Woloshin, the voice of the Memphis Tigers. I love Central Barbecue, and I vote. Does that work okay?
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stack, Sportsworthy, and Brian Davis.
Welcome back in Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and we're talking Tigers. A big Monday for the University of Memphis. The loss on Saturday against Navy, and now the decision by the university to stick in the American rather than going to the Pac-12. I mentioned it when setting up the show. We're spending the rest of this hour talking about the Tigers, whether it's the loss against Navy or the decision to stay in the American. And we'd love your text or phone calls to the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line, 901-360-8255. That's 901-360-8255. If you want to be a part of the show, let us know what you think about the Tigers, whether it is the game against Navy or the decision today. Give us a call, send us a text. And Brett, you mentioned it earlier that you wanted to know what one word to describe Saturday's loss against Navy. And so we've gotten some text messages about that. Ron texted in. He simply says bad. I mean, you want to be pretty straightfortherward about it.
And you can't use disappointed.
That's right.
Ron?
That was the one. You can't use disappointed.
Bad's there.
Bad's a good one. Disgusted is another
Very
text
fair.
we got.
I was
Disgusted.
that too.
Yes. Mediocre was another text that we got. So yeah, keep those coming in. A lot of good ones.
What was your word for Saturday, Brian? I'm sorry, I forgot. Did you ever? I don't know if you gave it to me.
You didn't do it?
Did I not? I don't know if I gave one.
I got one. I'll give you mine,
You
Brett.
go yours. And I'll try to
Mine
think
is,
of one.
and it's holistically. It's between the loss combined with the Pac-12 news, correct?
Ooh, that's good.
Oh, okay.
Ominous.
I wasn't playing for that, but that's even
That's a
better.
good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Ominous for me.
Ominous.
It seems like the death. I mean, you know.
Ooh, Darian, that is good. That almost sounds like Ron Childers talking about the cone of uncertainty in the Gulf of Mexico.
In the ominous cast over the
We've got
stand.
some ominous clouds moving this way. Yeah. I would probably say crushing for that game against Navy. That'd probably be my
Apropos.
word. I mean, it was just you were watching the game.
Sobering.
Sobering's another one. Brett, I thought you laid it out really well because I think, for me watching that game, Memphis, I mean, just like that, they go down the field, they score, you go, okay, this feels good. Navy responds, Memphis goes back down, they score again, you're going, okay, all right, get a couple stops and you're good. And then after that, it was like it just hit you in the chest. I mean, it was, oh man, Navy, they're going to score again. They're going to score again. Oh, we can't stop this quarterback. I mean, they're just getting everything they want to get and more. And it was, I think sobering's another good word.
You see that the P words are starting to roll in. We got putrid and pathetic.
Well, I use pathetic. I'm with him. When I rewatched it yesterday afternoon, I was stunned that Horvath he ran around like he was playing in the backyard.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the thing. It was like
I have a word for his running. The way he ran was beautifully. I thought he ran beautifully, to be honest. The way he ran that offense, Brett, once he got in the open field and that back kind of bend and curved, and you knew he was off to the races. So I thought he ran the offense beautifully.
He and they were in command. Just control certainly from 17-17.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then blink of an eye, it was 34-17. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe it in real time. And then in watching, it was you could feel that this is going to be too far ahead. And then here comes the comeback. Sure. Here comes the execution perfectly of the onside kick. And you go, here we go.
Sure.
And you got to have it in the magical ride.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of got some of that excitement back. You're okay, you got to have some sort of luck when, you win games like this, and recovering an onside kick very much takes some sort of luck. And then, just minutes after that, Seth throws the interception and you just get crushed again. I mean, it all comes flooding back.
I can't accept for a second that the coaching staff let the locker room get like we got last week,
no chance.
Where we barely got a Navy mention in.
No, there's no way.
That's their job.
Exactly. It is not our jobs to sit here and diagnose Navy every day of the week, but it is theirs. And from everything I've seen from Ryan Silverfield and how he approaches games, how he approaches the media, how he approaches practice, there's no way in my mind I can even think that for a second he let that team not focus on Navy, because I know who he is and I know that he's very much focused on next game. So yeah, I was very surprised on Saturday to see how they played.
Okay, you're not going to see the wishbone anymore this year, but you are going to see run past quarterbacks.
Certainly.
I think South Florida is better than Blake Horvath. I think North Texas quarterback is at least comparable to better. I don't know about Charlotte or Texas San Antonio or Rice. I know UAB, that quarterback is. Yeah. I think. Do we know? Know or think he's better than?
We think. He hadn't been very good this year, but he was good last year. So maybe. I don't know.
So where did you say this youngster was from, Darian? Did you say
Ohio?
Hold on, I still have it up. Hillard Darby, Ohio. Well, that's the high school, Hillard Darby. The city looks like Hillard, Ohio.
I know you don't have time for this deep dive.
Go for it.
Ohio State once had a Heisman Trophy winner named Les Horvath. I mean, it would probably be, if it's direct line, it would be great-great-grandfather, I would guess. I wonder if any kin. I have no clue.
Huh. Interesting.
I just wonder, but that's for another deep Google dive.
Give me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find it. But, no, I mean, just a really tough loss. But you're right. I mean, you're going to see – I remember last year when Memphis played South Florida here and Byron Brown throwing the ball, running the ball, pretty much did whatever he wanted. And that was a game that was very high scoring, and Memphis won it late. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to see other quarterbacks, dual-threat guys that, are going to be able to find success against you unless this defense comes up with answers.
Never mind athletically along the offensive line. I know you're going to see better offensive lines, starting with South Florida and North Texas, and almost every offensive line the rest of the way is going to be better, with maybe the exception of Charlotte.
Yeah, not maybe, Brad. With the exception of Charlotte.
Charlotte's bad.
Pathetic offensively.
And you get to see Charlotte. Get your tickets now. Charlotte's coming to town the next few years.
They sure are. Yep. And this year, I think Charlotte same day as Ole Miss Oklahoma. So. Yeah, it's you're going to see better teams for sure the rest of the season. I mean, we talk about it. You're going to see, I think, USF has played a really tough non-conference schedule. They've got a dual-threat quarterback. They're going to be a better team than Navy. Tulane, we know, is a better team than Navy will be. I mean, there are a lot of challenges left on this schedule.
Yeah, and a narrow escape, I could have fudged over all this and understood it all. But, and maybe even in a 28-27 heartbreaker.
Sure.
But just to get throttled.
Yeah.
And I don't need to hear the last one was pick six. They all count.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the point. I mean, whether it was pick six or not, you had a sliver of hope at that. You had to recover an onside kick, and you had to drive down the field on that last possession, whether it was pick six or not. That performance, I mean, they were lucky that it was that close, if we're being honest, because that game was getting away from them in the fourth quarter, and they were able to make plays down the stretch to keep it close, but that very easily could have been a blowout win for Navy.
And now all of a sudden getting really thin at running back.
Yeah, running back is definitely a worry because you came into the season, everyone was excited about Mario Anderson, who I think has done a nice job to start the year, but Sutton Smith was going to play a huge role. Now he's out for the season. Greg DeWosier, a guy that we talked about it last Monday, where he really got banged up on that fourth down attempt that he willed his way to a first down, and he went over to the sideline, was really kind of grabbing his shoulder. It didn't look great, but kind of the reports where he should be able to go. He doesn't go for that game. It sounds like he might be out for a little bit of time. So now you're really only looking at Brandon Thomas, who has been around and we know has had injury concerns in the past, and Mario Anderson. And then they tried a couple of receivers at running back against Navy. They've got some really young running backs that it very clearly seems like they don't really want to throw them out there, or maybe don't think they're ready to be thrown out there yet. So yeah, running back's an issue, and I think Brett, have not been impressed by this offensive line this year. It was a talking point through the offseason of this offensive line is going to be a strong part of the team, and I just have not been very pleased with how they've played. A lot of new pieces. Takes time for that to gel, but they have not looked good through 4 games.
Brian, watching it live is so much different than after the fact, and you know what happened. But it looked to me like a little trouble with some receivers, getting some separation from Navy.
Sure, yeah. And, this is a interesting group of receivers. I think they have some good receivers, but that's accurate. They were definitely having trouble, finding separation and getting free. And I know a couple guys had good games. And that's another thing, Brett, is now we're learning that, Rock Taylor is a day-to-day type of injury guy. Same with Kobe Drake, and those are 2 guys that I guess I should say they're still going to be evaluated, which I can kind of consider day to day. But those 2 guys have been your 2 biggest receivers as guys that I think have the most trust from Seth Hennigan. And so if either of those guys miss time, you're really going to need somebody to step up, and I think that brings a lot of question marks to that receiver group.
And now Middle Tennessee this week, I think you could afford to rest some guys, especially with this week and next week's open date. Sure. And then on the road to South Florida, this might be a good spot in there for some rest and recovery time for some. And Middle's really bad. One opening night against Tennessee Tech, and then lost 3 straight at Ole Miss, against Western Kentucky, and against Duke.
Yeah, not a very good team. I've tried to watch a little bit of that Duke game on Saturday just to kind of get a glimpse at them. I did the same when they played Ole Miss.
They might win 3 games.
Yeah, they're just not a very good team. Memphis should win handedly in this one on Saturday. A night game for the Tigers, which is going to be the first night game this year.
24.5-point favorites.
Yeah, that's a pretty big
whopping.
Pretty big favorite. So definitely need to get right with this game. You got the off week afterwards, but definitely a really, really bad bad loss on Saturday to Navy. We'll definitely talk more about this game at 5 o'clock when we talk to Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat reporter for the Commercial Appeal. But let's get to another break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the University of Memphis's decision to stay with the American rather than going and joining the Pac-12. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Wash your office building? Impossible! Not called Wilson's Pro Wash. Your house, fence, driveway, warehouse, store, hotel, even cars and trucks can all be squeaky clean and beautiful after pressure washing by Wilson's Pro Wash. Wilson's specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces, concrete, stone, brick, and mortar, even wood and vinyl siding. Then Wilson's can seal their surfaces so they stay looking brand new. Call Wilson's Pro Wash, 1-524-6799, or online at wilsonsprowash.com.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
All 650 acquisition fee, 20,000 miles per year, 20 cents excess mileage, Forte, RE 794, 626, MSRP 21,820, Telluride RG 543,666, MSRP 39,835, Sportage S734,0278, MSRP 29,135, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 695, includes tax title and license, must finance through Hyundai with approved credit, valid through 9/30/24, dealers.com.
Hey, Jeff Allen, I hear it's a family affair over there in Gossett Kia, South Mount Moriah.
Yep, we've got something for everyone. 41 MPG Highway and a 2024 Kia Forte LXS, $199 a month, $37.99 due at signing. 2025 Kia Sportage, $269 per month, $34.99 due at signing. And a 2024 Kia Telluride S front-wheel drive, $359 per month, $39.99 due at signing. And a 2024 Kia EV9 Lite rear-wheel drive has 0% for 72 months available. You haven't heard 0% in a long time.
Plus, all those bad boys come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday is happy hour from 3 to 6 with $1 off all draft meals, $5 off well drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and half off pretzel bites, mozzarella sticks, queso, corn dogs, and pickles. Monday through Friday night lights from 7 to closing. Dine in and buy 12 wings and get 5 regular wings for free. Come watch college football and every pro game on the weekends. All at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Highway 70. Fall is football.
I'm Kevin Harlan from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. We'll have great matchups all season long on the road to the playoffs and Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. Join Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner and me for one of the NFL's great traditions, Monday Night Football on Westwood One.
Right here on Sports 56.
This is the story of the one. As a warehouse manager, her job is to transform chaos into clarity and to see patterns where others see problems. Luckily, she's got a partner who shares her perspective. Ranger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products, backed by real-person support and in-depth online resources, so she can tackle every task with precision and turn potential setbacks into streamlined success. Call quickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From
first-time Nana moments.
Welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Superiors. Here are your hosts, Brett Stark, Sports Ruby, and Brian Gates.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. We talked a lot about Memphis and their loss against Navy. Got a lot of good one-word answers to describe the loss against Navy without using the word disappointing. And thankfully, nobody texted in with the word disappointing.
I thought some wise one would.
Yeah.
Boy, everything out there now is disappointing.
Yes, everything, Brett. It's a very easy word to use, like you said earlier. It can kind of say what you want to say without being harsh. It's just, it's.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I'm not.
There we go.
Wear-
question to you both.
Wearing dark socks to the beach is disappointing.
It sure is. Yes.
Texter
Wearing
has a
socks off
question to you
beach
both,
is
guys.
disappointing.
Says, just want to ask one simple question. But does it seem odd that Tulane, South Florida, and UTSA could have gone without us? Something obviously something affected their decisions.
Well, that's a really
Yeah.
good take.
It is.
It's worth examining that
Sure
somebody didn't shoot the Rapids and say to heck with it.
Sure, because I think that's, last week when we were talking about this decision and do you go, do you not go, that was kind of the thing of you don't want to be left in the American and Tulane and USF or just Tulane goes and leaves you. And then we learned later in the week, I guess it was Friday after Ross Dellinger's reporting, he had the story on Yahoo Sports basically saying, this decision largely lays in Memphis's hands, and that they've talked to both Tulane and USF, and I think UTSA was probably in a couple of those conversations, but it definitely felt like those three were the main three, the bigger three that the Pac-12 were looking at. But it definitely seemed like these three were going in, and we talked about it Friday. Those three were going to be a package deal one way or the other is what it started to feel like on Friday. But that is interesting because what was stopping Tulane or stopping USF from just saying
now
whatever?
the Mountain West is showing solidarity.
Yeah, with Air Force, who has had interest from both the American and the Pac-12, that they say they're staying in the Mountain West. And every reporting I've seen over the last 24 hours or so said that the Mountain West has shifted to making sure they can lock down all of their members. They've lost some already, and I think seeing that who knows what these American teams do, the Pac-12 could immediately come right back to the Mountain West and say, hey, we want more of your schools, and so they're trying to lock those schools down kind of as we speak.
Now it feels like the newer members of the six-pack, the four schools that went to that, are a little bit on an island.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I mean, I think a lot has shifted now that this decision has come down by the three teams in the American, and still, they have place to look. I know UNLV has been a team that has been talked about a lot that maybe could, jump in and join the pack, and we'll see if they stay with Air Force and say we want to be Mountain West members. It's going to be really interesting to see kind of what happens over the next.
Now, if UNLV can drag Nevada across the finish line as well, we know we feel like we know that there are two big dates coming up in college football: 2026 and 2031. Well, first 2026. If Ed Scott knows something's going to happen summer of 25 before you start the 26 season, and the Tigers end up in the ACC, the flirtation with the Pac and turning them down flatly looks great.
Sure. It definitely
if
does.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because after 26, the next one is kind of who really survives.
Yeah. You're right about that.
In 31.
Sure.
And that sounds like forever away. 7 years. Think how quick to 2017 to 2024 went by.
It's That's a good point. It went by fast. So,
oh, by the way, in the middle of it, we survived a global pandemic.
That's right. Yes, old COVID. But
now I'm on a deep Blake Horvath dive too, Darren. I'm so sorry.
I mean, good Lord.
Son of Alan and Laura Horvath.
Okay, so not Phil.
Not to Phil.
Maybe Uncle Phil. I don't know.
And the easiest bet ever. Served as captain of the football team his senior year of high school.
Absolutely. I mean, you're not
two-sport guy, point guard in basketball. He was a Woj type point guard.
That's right. Yes.
Very annoying for opposing gyms.
Very. Yes. Yeah. I think I could have told you, captain, and if I could have told you anything about him, captain in high school, also played basketball and was the point guard. Just a little naggy point guard that's just kind of in your grill whole game, just passing it around.
Dated the cheerleading captain.
Yeah, right.
He was that guy Saturday.
He sure was. He Memphis made him look good.
How many people watching that game getting just schooled by Blake Horvath, insert new middle name.
Yeah, how many people had to learn his name during the game against Navy? But a lot of stuff going on with the University of Memphis and the Pac-12 as now they look. I saw this right before we get to a break here. According to the reporting done earlier by Ross Dellinger from Yahoo, Pac-12 they're now going to pivot to UNLV, Air Force, Utah State, and Gonzaga. Well, now Air Force has said they're going to stay with the Mountain West, so it sounds like it's down to those three schools. And right after Memphis decided to stay in the American, it was reported Gonzaga was going to go and join the Pac-12 and get full revenue share.
Yep, without a football
having football. But now other media, that was reported by I can't remember who reported that I should have written it down.
McMurphy.
Yes, McMurphy from The Athletic. Or not The Athletic, the Action Network. Well, he reported that. Now a lot of other media members.
John Rothstein comes right behind him and says, contrary to that, there is no deal right now.
There's been discussions. That's not true. Now people from Gonzaga have come out and said that is not true, nothing in place. But we need to go ahead and get to a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about this, but we're going to talk a whole lot about the action that happened over the weekend in college football. David Cobb, he joins us next.
To help us tell everyone how great Central Barbecue is.
Oh, I don't think we need it either, but I just thought it might be fun to have somebody more famous than us chime in on the best barbecue in Memphis.
Well, did he talk about how Central Barbecue slow smokes its meat for 24 hours to make sure that it's perfectly tender and doesn't need a sauce?
Well, no, not exactly.
Well, did he talk about how there are Central Barbecue locations all over town?
No.
Did you write his copy for him?
I didn't want to be insulting.
So what did he say?
Hi, I'm Dave Woloshin, the voice of the Memphis Tigers. I love Central Barbecue, and I vote. Does that work okay?
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Check this out, Randy. New 2023 Dodge Charger FXD, $27,499, over $10,000 off MSRP.
Ronnie, what about Renegade?
New 2023 Jeep Renegade, $27,499 or $319 a month.
Hey, Ronnie, tell them about that deal on Gladiator.
2024 Jeep Gladiator, over $7,000 off and 0% for 36 months available.
Don't forget about that Ram truck deal.
2025 Ram Traceman, over $6,000 off MSRP.
Rocket Ronnie says drive past the rest and come to the best of Gossett Chrysler Jeep out to empty out all of the pipe. Online at GossettMotorCars.net.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments. Welcome to Flight 101. To annual Girls Trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Calling all Memphis Tiger fans, the Liza's Light University of Memphis Soccer and Track Stadium Fund needs your support. In memory of Liza Fletcher, we're building a state-of-the-art stadium to provide our student athletes with the top-notch facilities they deserve. Help us reach our Phase 1 goal of $7 million and make a true impact for this community. Let your light shine. Visit lizaslight.org and donate now.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and join Ottawa Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawa is an ACUSA church located in town Memphis.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's cranking up even more in the last 15-20 minutes out here as we check it out live in the Midtown area. 240 southbound from South Parkway down to Norris. It still looks pretty good right now. 240 east over here at Poplar, working your way up to Walnut Grove. 240 as you get on the 385 Bill Morris Parkway going outbound looks pretty good, at least at the moment. Weimer's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area for over 40 years. No matter what the occasion is, make sure you check with them first at Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. Joining Brian and Brett now on Sports Time is National College Football writer for CBS Sports, Memphis native and Tennessee grad, who you can find on Twitter X at David W. Cobb. It's David Cobb.
David Cobb joins the show now from CBS Sports, where he covers college football and college basketball. David, thanks so much for joining us. A busy, busy weekend in the football world. It's become a busy day today with all of the news regarding the Pac-12. So let's start there so we can get out of the way and talk about the football that was played over the weekend. Memphis, USF, Tulane, and UTSA all announced their commitment to the AAC earlier today, and basically just saying that they're not going to go to the Pac-12. It looks, everything that is being reported, that this was a financial decision by the Tigers. Ross Dellinger even reporting that the Pac-12 offered to only pay $2.5 million of the exit fee. That looks like about $25 million for each of these schools. What have you made of the last week or so when it comes to Memphis and the idea of joining the Pac-12, and then the decision today for Memphis to stick in the American Conference rather than jumping to the Pac-12?
Well, hey guys, yeah, what a day after a big weekend. It was going to be a risk if they went to the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 was advertising some numbers to Memphis and to the other schools from the AAC that it wanted. But, boy, we have seen the Pac-12 tout and advertise numbers in the past, haven't we?
Yeah, we
and
have.
the fact that those numbers were not real the last time around, I think probably gave Memphis some pause about whether to jump because they can say that we might get $15 million, but until a media rights partner actually offers the league a TV deal that would give $15 million per school per year, you're taking a risk. And there's just no guarantees that money was actually going to be there. And then, if as Ross reported, and as you mentioned, Bryant, the PAC wasn't going to be able to cover your exit fee in any significant type of way, then it makes this decision a little bit easier. I understand there's some disappointment because it feels like the level of competition in the AAC is not what it would have been in the Pac-12 with some of those better brands from the Mountain West and with Oregon State and Washington State. Like, I get all that. But I don't look at this as some sort of something to really be all that upset about if you're a Memphis fan, because as we've discussed, there is still a possibility that in the years ahead, the ACC in particular could have some openings. And if you're positioned to make that jump better from the AAC, then you're probably better off standing pat and staying where you are. So that's, I think, part of this calculus as well, because if the exit fee is prohibitive right now to jump to the Pac-12, then it would also be an issue if you were jumping from the Pac-12 to the ACC, and you don't want to lock yourself into the Pac-12 when there might be something better out there in just a few years.
David, what do you say to the opposite point of view, to the contrarian, maybe to me? We've sat around here a long time waiting for the possibility.
Well, this wasn't it. This wasn't the time to. This would be like going all in with pocket sixes. It's not a bad hand, but there could very well be a few other folks at the table that have a much better hand. Might be in line for a flush or a straight, and you might want to wait until you got a flush or a straight before you push your chips in and stand up, because this thing is not done moving. Conference realignment is not over. It's still an evolving landscape, and now what we're seeing from the ACC, it might get lost over this last couple of weeks of mayhem, but part of the deal with Florida State and Clemson being willing to negotiate with the ACC is getting that exit date and that grant of rights reduced from 2036 to 2030. So while, they might be willing to play ball with the ACC in the short term, I still think in the long run there's a pretty good chance there's going to be movement on the ACC front. Personally, Brett, I would rather be in a league that has the ACC's leftovers than in a league that has the Pac-12 leftovers, because the Pac-12 leftovers are Oregon State and Washington State. The ACC leftovers, that could be Boston College, Syracuse, Virginia Tech. It could potentially even be UVA or North Carolina. It would be Duke. It would be Louisville in all likelihood. These are teams that I think Memphis aligns closer with, that would be more exciting for Memphis fans to compete against. And I realize that's not a sure bet, and it's several years down the line. But if that all comes together in a decade, we will look back and say, thank goodness Memphis didn't go after this ill-fated Pac-12 idea, because even a group of leftover ACC teams would make a much better league than a group of, let's be real, like group of 5 all-stars, if you want to call it that. And Memphis can do better than that. Memphis is well-established enough in both of the major sports with really good facilities and good leadership. And I think, they were probably wise here to hold off.
I'm with you on the leftovers, but for now, the entree of Oregon State, Washington State, and what they were going to bring in, Boise State, Colorado, and those others, that looks better than an entree of, pardon the pun, Rice, Charlotte, and UTSA.
Yeah, it does, no doubt. So that's the what you give up here. But it wasn't going to happen immediately. We were still going to have a couple more years of this AAC. And by that time, the picture may be more clear. There might be more clarity on the national level. And you know what? I will bet you guys that if Memphis in a couple of years says, oh, man, we messed up, the ACC is going to stick together. We're not going to get an invitation. They're going to find another reason to kick us out of the big boy party. I'll bet the Pac-12 would say, okay, we'll find a way for you, because Memphis is a value driver. Memphis is in a position of leverage. They're saying no right now, but I didn't see anything in the statements today that said no forever, and that we'll never revisit a potential partnership with the Pac-12. And I think that's an important point here, because it's not a position that Memphis fans are used to being in, which is a position of leverage. And so they have leverage with the AAC to get something that they wanted right now. And the AAC is going to be aggressive with pursuing new revenue strategies. And they'll also still in the future, I'm sure, have the ability to leverage with the Pac-12 to see if it comes to that, if maybe whether or not they could still go there. But for now, they're holding off. So, I think that's important to note, though. Like, this is no for now, but in this realignment era, with the way things move and how quickly everything changes, it doesn't necessarily mean no forever.
So just quickly, what happens now with the Pac? I know there was immediately after Memphis and the other AAC schools turned them down, reports coming out that Gonzaga was going to join the conference. Brett McMurphy from the Action Network reported that, and now it seems like that very much is not true, that there has been conversations between Gonzaga and the Pac, but they have not made any decision. But they would not even be a football school. They have to have 8 football schools to remain in the FBS. Where does the Pac turn from here?
Well, there are still some good basketball programs left in the Mountain West that they didn't take on the first go-round. I mean, you think about New Mexico and the Pit and Richard Pitino and what he's got going on there. You think about Utah State and the success that they've had under multiple coaches in basketball over the last several years. So there are still decent basketball programs that they have left on the table. So if they want to be a little more aggressive on the basketball side, work to work something out with Gonzaga, there's a real opportunity for the Pac-12 to still be a really quality basketball conference, probably even better than it was before in terms of basketball. I mean, on the football side, though, that's what drives the revenue. There's not much left out there, to be honest. There's you don't want to have to turn back to the Mountain West from a football point of view, but they may have to, because they're going to have to get to 9 members. So they're going to have to do something to fill out their ranks. And so it doesn't look like they're going to get any of these AAC schools. It looks like Air Force is kind of committing to the Mountain West as well. So yeah, it's could be another situation of botched calculations from the Pac-12 and Pac-12 leadership thinking they could do something that they're not positioned to do. And so it's I don't think we're done. I think this is all playing out in real time, and wouldn't be surprised if there's more news even today.
And, David, we keep hearing about all this money that is on the sidelines, the streaming and various outlets that are going to commit to more money for potential broadcast fees. But we hear about one thing, but we keep seeing you better start at ESPN and then go to NBC and Fox.
Right. And if this Pac-12 thing is going to come together, I think the pitch is basically that, hey, we will fill your late-night TV window. And that might have been another hurdle for Memphis, because a lot of these games that the Pac-12 are going to play in the future are going to be games that kick off at 7 Pacific. That's 9 Central, 10 Eastern, maybe some cases even later than that. Look at this weekend's schedule. I mean, we do still have some West Coast teams that are playing late-night games. They're happening less frequently, but in this week in particular, we've got a couple of really, really late games. And that's basically what the Pac-12 would be. So that's the pitch. If you're the Pac-12, is we can fill your 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern type of kick time, and that's tough. That's tough on a Central Time Zone school. Really tough.
Are they trying to kill us staying up that late? I mean, we've got 3 this week kicking off after 9 o'clock Central Time. Washington State at Boise at 9 p.m. Central, Arizona at Utah 9:15 Central, and Oregon UCLA on Fox. Darren, how would you like to be the weekend crew at Fox waiting out I guess they do 9 to 10 o'clock news anyway, but kind of trying to wait out the 10 o'clock kick time for Oregon and UCLA?
It'll feel like 4 a.m. local.
Oh, man.
Right. No kidding. You're going to catch me at a local gas station buying an energy drink at like 7:30 p.m. this Saturday because I'm going to have to stay up late to finish my grades, finish my my rankings that are always due pretty early on Sunday. Because we got
who wants to kick at that time? Big baby Brian Kelly whining about sitting in the heat Saturday. Now wants a state law in Louisiana forbidding afternoon kickoffs in the month of September. LSU has to play in that time about once every 3 or 4 years. Everybody else bakes in every SEC town. They do it one time, and he's still crying about it from Saturday.
Well, you got to start winning before you start lobbying the governor and state legislature. I mean, he's Brian. He's Brian Kelly, not Huey Long. He can't just snap his fingers and get stuff done in the state of Louisiana. Not until he starts winning some titles. And boy, I've watched enough LSU this season to say, well, they're not going to be winning any titles this year. So I think if I were Brian Kelly, I'd be focusing on the football.
Yeah, no, absolutely. David, what did you make of Tennessee and their performance Saturday night against Oklahoma? Oklahoma, it could get real rough for them in the SEC this year.
Sure could. We might be looking at a 500 type of season for OU. The fact that they turned to a true freshman, 3-star quarterback so early in the season, so early in that game, was shocking. I mean, Jackson Arnold's been their savior. Like they kind of were fine with seeing Dylan Gabriel leave for Oregon because they're like, well, we got Jackson Arnold, we'll be fine. Not so fast, my friend, because he looked really bad against Tennessee. Tennessee, I give him an A+ for the first half. Second half was they did what they had to do to get across the finish line, win the game without too much drama. It wasn't great in the second half, and overall, I ended up just giving them a B+ for my story because Oklahoma was so bad that it really felt like Tennessee should have won that game by more. But nonetheless, you're sitting here at 4-0. You crushed NC State. You won at Oklahoma, and you covered. So you got to be feeling pretty good if you're a Tennessee fan because it doesn't even feel like Nico has played his best football yet. He's been a little turnover prone. He's had some misses here or there, and yet the college football playoff is firmly within their grasp. So I think if you saw the video that the Tennessee football Twitter account put out there, after the game, one of the things Josh Heupel said that I agree with is, guys, have we played our best football yet? And they all quickly said, no, we haven't. And I think that's maybe something to be encouraged about if you're a Tennessee fan because you've accomplished everything you needed to accomplish in the first month of the season, and it still feels like there's a lot of room for improvement. And I kind of think that's where you want to be going into October.
David, I know all these rankings will sort themselves out with week in, week out play. Probably not enough to get too agitated over. But I thought Tennessee should have moved past Ole Miss. I thought they should have moved past Alabama and Ohio State as well. Their 4-0 is more impressive than 2 3-0s and one 4-0 for Ole Miss.
Well, I agree, and I do have Tennessee at 4 on my CBS Sports 134 ballot. So I've got them ahead of Ohio State, ahead of Alabama, and ahead of Ole Miss. And I've got Ole Miss all the way down at 9, but that's largely just because of how light their schedule has been. I mean, they've done everything. I think
that's fair. Coach Kiffin said Saturday night with me and said it today pretty directly. Mostly said, translation, we hadn't beat anybody.
Correct. And so I bumped Utah up a little bit this week. They got a pretty authoritative road victory over Oklahoma State. That was impressive. I've got Penn State there at 8 because they beat West Virginia. Penn State has not looked great since then. So, look, I rank teams mostly on resume, more so than power rankings. If Ole Miss and Utah were on a neutral field, I would probably favor Ole Miss in that game by 4.5 points. But because they hadn't played anybody, I still got them hanging down there in the low tier of the top 10. But their day is coming eventually. I am a little concerned, though, about this Ole Miss schedule because, I mean, it's not necessarily their fault that Wake Forest is as bad as they are because I'm sure when they scheduled that game, it was assumed that Wake Forest would be a little better. And then you look at the big-time SEC games on the Ole Miss schedule. Obviously, there's Georgia, but going into the year, you were looking at LSU and Oklahoma and thinking, okay, those will be really tough teams, big-time tests, probably top 15 opponents. Well, I mean, not so much the case anymore because LSU has not looked very good, and Oklahoma has really not looked very good. And so if I'm Lane Kiffin, I want LSU and Oklahoma to have some sort of a pulse.
Yes.
Because you need them to be good when you hopefully beat them so that your resume can get a boost from those games. And right now that Ole Miss schedule is, unfortunately for them, I think, looking really, really weak.
It's pretty soft, and even this. What if Georgia lost it at Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium this Saturday night, and then turned around and lost in Austin? That $900 hotel room in Oxford, that price is going to be plunging for Georgia weekend.
It would be. That would make the stakes for that game so astronomically high, as if they won't be already. But you can't have, if you're Georgia, you can't get to 3 losses, I don't think, in this season and expect to get in. I think you're going to have a 3-loss team get in the playoff at some point relatively soon. It might not be this year, though. And so if you're Georgia and you do falter against Texas, against Alabama, boy, you got to win at Ole Miss. And if you're Ole Miss, you know, that's the one you've got circled as well. And so I just don't really buy this idea of the regular season games carrying less meaning, because we're going into this Alabama.
Carry more.
They very. You could very well argue they do. And the Georgia-Alabama game this week is a great example.
A Super
sure,
Bowl in September.
Yeah.
Right, and I guess the difference is that the loser will feel better about their ability to come back from that loss than they would have under the 4-team format. But the winner, my gosh, they are in the driver's seat in the conference, the driver's seat in the college football playoff race. They're in great shape. So it's the stakes are still really, really high, even in this 12-team playoff on a week-in, week-out basis.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, David, your thoughts on this Auburn team. They're now 2-2 overall. They lose by 10 to Arkansas, and Arkansas I did not think played anywhere near their best game against Auburn, but they had turned to Hank Brown after watching him against New Mexico the week before. I was really worried once he faced a defense with a pulse that he could struggle. He throws 3 interceptions. They turn back to Peyton Thorne, still couldn't get it done. Now they have to turn around and get to the bulk of their SEC schedule. What does the rest of the season look like for Auburn?
Feels like 6-6 would be a good outcome.
Yeah.
Their schedule is not easy.
That's Liberty Bowl bound.
Yeah,
it's tough. So yeah, they could be. Yeah, I mean, very very well could be a Liberty Bowl team. Which, it's kind of crazy to me that Hugh Freeze has been so stubborn. Well, he finally got his wish and got back to the SEC. And you might have thought that he would have adapted to the times a little better than he has, but he's not adapted whatsoever. And they want to tell you probably that 2025 is their year, but you can't go into 2025 with absolutely no momentum and expect to have a huge breakthrough. And you still got to go out and find a quarterback, even if you got a great recruiting class coming in and the rest of your roster looks pretty good. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a team. And Hugh Freeze, of all people, being so stubborn at that position blows my mind because Auburn is the type of place that can spend to get a quarterback in the portal, and they chose not to do it. Auburn's the kind of place that should be able to sign a really high-caliber high school quarterback, and they've not done that. And that is just bewildering to me that he's shied away from going big and going after his quarterback of the future. And so what are we looking at next year? Him trying at the last second to snag somebody out of the portal? How well has that worked for teams this year, plugging and playing a guy who just showed up on campus a few months before the season? We're seeing across the country that it doesn't really work that well. And so, yeah, I don't know where this Hugh Freeze thing is going at Auburn, but it's not going in the right direction, and it's not going the direction that a lot of people thought it would.
You just wonder why Auburn didn't go after the Arkansas quarterback heavier, because he was much better Saturday. And I want to give credit to the Razorbacks, and now for them with a game in Arlington this week against Texas A&M, if they can finally get off the schneid playing at Jerry's World, they feel like Tennessee coming to town, that's a Super Bowl for them, and the likelihood of game day being there.
Right.
I hope the Tennessee equipment truck can navigate through North Little Rock a little better when they go back out that way.
Maybe they should have just stopped in Little Rock and not even gone all the way back to Knoxville.
With the money that Tennessee has, especially with open date this week, I'm surprised that they didn't warehouse a lot of that stuff kind of in Fort Smith or in Russellville.
Yeah, it would have made sense because you got a lot of Tennessee fans who are going to be making the same trip west on I-40, very similar that they just made. The equipment truck could have saved a lot of mileage, perhaps. I'm telling my Tennessee people, hey, look, guys, y'all got to be careful with this Arkansas game, because they're going to be in hostile territory, and they're going to be in that classic letdown spot. Realize that's coming off of a bye, so it does help that they'll have the bye, which Memphis didn't have that luxury. But, yeah, look no further than Memphis for the perfect example of what can happen when you start feeling yourself after a big win. And then you got to play a tricky team with a tricky scheme on the road. And Bobby Petrino, for all of his warts, you give that guy some time to draw up a game plan, and he can still draw one up. And so that Tennessee-Arkansas game that everybody in Knoxville was writing in as a win on their schedule before the season, it might be a little bit more of a test than I think some people want to acknowledge, because who would you favor on the neutral right now between Arkansas and Oklahoma? I might favor Arkansas in that.
I think I would.
And so that could be. That could be
David, I know early in the week, but where are you leaning? Arkansas, A&M. Where are you leaning? Georgia visiting Tuscaloosa, playing Bama.
I'm leaning Georgia in the big one there, because it's I think just what we saw from Georgia against Kentucky. It's going to kind of miscast who Georgia really is in a lot of people's minds. But I flash back to week 1. I think that's when we saw what Georgia really is, when they crushed a Clemson team that has actually turned out to be a whole lot better than initially thought. Because Clemson, ever since that dud of a performance against Georgia in week 1, has piled up the yards and piled up the points and looked like an ACC title contender, and kind of put themselves on a tier with just them and Miami in the ACC title race. And so I think Georgia is capable of going into Tuscaloosa and not just winning, but maybe winning by a touchdown or 2 touchdowns, because that Alabama team I don't really think has been tested yet. The South Florida game was it was better than playing an FCS team, but it wasn't all that impressive for 3.5 quarters. And then you look at Alabama and their performance against Wisconsin; it's just a totally different level of athlete at Wisconsin right now than what you're going to see most weeks in the SEC, and particularly against Georgia. So I like the Dogs this week. Arkansas and A&M, I gotta dig in on that one a little bit. But I mean, the Razorbacks have been pretty good offensively, and Texas A&M has got some warts, and they barely slipped past. Who they have this past week? It wasn't pretty, but they've got some issues to work through. So I would probably lean Arkansas and UGA. I have more conviction on UGA over Alabama, but yeah, give me the Razorbacks as of now in that game with A&M.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. A&M 6-point win over Bowling Green this weekend. So yes, you're right. Not a pretty game for them. But David, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, David. David Cobb joining us from CBS Sports to talk some college football and college basketball. And before we get to our break, got to remind you our 4 o'clock hour every single day brought to you by Wilson's Pro Wash. Do me a favor. Picture this. Picture your home beautifully clean and pristine. Does that seem impossible? Not if you call Wilson's Pro Wash. Their Gentle Touch Pro Wash will restore your house, fence, driveway, commercial building, and more to their very best. Wilson specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces from concrete to stone, brick to mortar, and even wood to vinyl siding. Then Wilson's can seal your surfaces so that they stay looking brand new. Wilson's Pro Wash, clean is their mission. They'll wash away everything but your sins. Give them a call at 901-524-6799. That's 901-524-6799, or check them out online at wilsonsprowash.com. Let's get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for our Sissy's Log Cabin. Look back at the weekend in the SEC.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It was a single vehicle accident on 55 southbound up there on the bridge, but they did move it over to the side. Traffic's cranking up now through the Midtown area on 240 southbound here at South Parkway. Still looks pretty good right now. 240 getting on to 385 Billmore's Parkway going outbound. Hey, don't miss the Paul Prince Party coming up this Saturday at the Humane Society of Memphis, Shelby County. Take a tour, meet some of the animals. For more information on this, it's going to be a fun time. Just check out memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa set. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just
or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles, ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at triumphautosales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
I don't think we really need anyone else to help us tell everyone how great Central Barbecue is.
Oh, I don't think we need it either, but I just thought it might be fun to have somebody more famous than us chime in on the best barbecue in Memphis.
Well, did he talk about how Central Barbecue slow smokes its meat for 24 hours to make sure that it's perfectly tender and doesn't need a sauce?
Well, no, not exactly.
Well, did he talk about how there are Central Barbecue locations all over town?
No.
Did you write his copy for him?
I didn't want to be insulting.
So what did he say?
Hi, I'm Dave Woloshin, the voice of the Memphis Tigers. I love Central Barbecue, and I vote. Does that work okay?
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Rich Eisen here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Join us all season long as we get you ready for primetime NFL action every Monday night. Along with Kevin Harlan, Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner, and the entire
5, 4
rooms and the stadiums for exclusive previews and all the play-by-play action. Every week on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of the Pen, and I've got the perfect plan. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing gift, because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and one blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, the Pen is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great plan.
From September 1st to November 30th, the Pen is donating 30 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for differentiated large real products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $400,000 avoiding Mississippi.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Granger. Granger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call clickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports. Former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show. Right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Trust. Here once again are Greg Morsworthy and Bryant Dakin.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time for a look back at the weekend in the SEC. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies with 9,000 square foot in Laurelwood. Let's go inside the SEC with Bryant and Brett.
Chad Kelly in the gun formation. 3rd and inches for Ole Miss.
Carlton will kick it. It is on the way, and it is up.
Buck Bellew looking at it, going to pitch it to Herschel Walker, try to get him outside. He's going to get 5.
The snap is high. Kelly grabs it, wants to throw, fires it up in the air. Treadwell can't get it.
It is good! Oh, my!
Get a deflection is caught! Deflection is caught! And down the sidelines is Adebayo. He's to the end zone. He's in there. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
He's got 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. He needs a block. There goes Herschel. There goes Herschel.
And you can wrap this one in maroon and white, my friends.
Arkansas is headed to Atlanta.
The national champion is clad in big orange.
Most on Billy Napier being fired watch Saturday, but for one day they look pretty good. Graham Mertz passed for 3 touchdowns, ran for 1. Blake Shapen unfortunately injured and out for the rest of the season for Mississippi State. 45-28 Florida wins in Starkville this week. Gators open date Mississippi State at Texas. That's rough.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not easy for them. And I do think that, as unfortunate it might sound, I think there were a lot of Florida fans that probably just said, you know what? Let's just lose this game against Mississippi State and we can all be out of our misery. They'll make the change. We'll get an interim for the rest of the year because I think they all know this year is going nowhere, but they do get a convincing win. For one program, it's Florida that has been going in the wrong direction, and it seems like they're going to make a coaching change at the end of the year, if not before. On the other side, it's Mississippi State, a team that's just brought in a new head coach. They're kind of working through a lot
fully
of
starting over.
Exactly. Starting from scratch completely. And so, you know, it's going to be a rough year for Mississippi State fans, but I do think, and I said this earlier with John, I think they're going to figure it out. You give him time. You let Jeff Lebby bring in his guys and bring in guys that can run his offense, and I think they're going to have a fun group, but it was not fun on Saturday for them.
Kentucky 41-6 over Ohio. 2 games since Kentucky had scored a touchdown. They get one on offense. They get it Saturday. Dane Key, 145 yards on 6 catches. 2 big-time receivers with Brown and Key for Kentucky. Brock Vandegrift, 17 of 24, 237 passing. Ohio didn't put up much of a fight. This week, Kentucky and Oxford against Ole Miss.
Yeah, Kentucky, good win for them and kind of give them some confidence before they really go into the bulk of their conference slate. And, they get Ole Miss here coming up, and so, that's going to definitely be a tough game for them. So you definitely wanted to see some good things. Brock Vandegrift definitely, looked fine against Ohio, looked good, and definitely running the ball over 200 yards rushing. So maybe if you can get some positive things going, maybe you got a better shot against Ole Miss. But, I'm not sold on this Kentucky team yet.
LSU wins at home 34-17 over UCLA. The hottest game ever by many accounts ever at LSU. Wow. And they have really cried about it. Join the crowd.
Yeah,
breaking news. It's hot outside in the middle of the daytime in September at a lot of these SEC places, and all through the years, LSU's had all the cozy kickoffs. You get one every 3 years, and now Brian Kelly wants a law. Wants to enact a law about playing in the hot weather. Too bad, but Garrett Nussmeier was really good. 352. 3 touchdowns, passing, career high, 32 completions. Heavy booing as LSU went to the locker room at halftime. The worst news of the day, though, Harold Perkins out for the year for that already depleted defense. Mason Taylor, son of Jason Taylor, nephew of Zach Thomas, 8 catches, 77 yards, 14 yards rushing for UCLA.
Wow.
LSU, they split this year with the Los Angeles series with USC and UCLA, and they got South Alabama up next.
Yes, they do. They get the split. Who would have thought a couple of years ago that you would be seeing LSU playing both of those teams in the same year? But this conversation has to start with Harold Perkins, and that loss is massive to that LSU defense. I think this game was a lot closer than LSU would have liked it to be. You mentioned it, the booing as the team entered at the half while it was tied 17-17. But I do think they have a good quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier, and so it's going to be really interesting. This team is 3-1 right now, a top 20 team LSU is, but I don't know how many teams in the rest of the SEC that is looking at LSU as a big time matchup in terms of competition for one of the top spots in this conference.
Razorbacks go down on the Plains and win 24-14 at Auburn. 5 Auburn turnovers and 0 accountability from Hugh Freeze. He blamed everybody but himself.
Yeah,
Arkansas has had the offensive weapons. They're starting to really develop some, and I think they have enough on defense. They should really be 4-0, but they're not. They're 3-1. 2 touchdowns rushing for Jaquindon Jackson. Hank Brown and his band of renown. Boy, it was bad. Peyton Thorne, slightly better, but not much. This week, Arkansas at A&M at Jerry's World. Auburn at home against Oklahoma.
Oh man, yeah, that is a
fork in the road game.
Certainly, fork in the road because this team does not.
Fame
look good
last Saturday in September, fork in the road. Any coffee table books about that?
Well, maybe. Not
we ought to print some.
Not
this
a
week.
happy coffee table book if there are any, but no, it's a big game because Auburn comes out and a lot of people in the Auburn world were trying to sell this hope in these rays of sunshine about you've got your answer at quarterback, Hank Brown, get ready, he's going to be good. You're going to have to go through some small growing pains, but he's the quarterback of the future. And we talked about it last week that he looked good against New Mexico, but I don't really think New Mexico has a good defense, and I thought he could struggle against Arkansas. I did not think he would struggle that much. 3 interceptions. And I think the biggest thing is I don't think Arkansas played their best game by any means. They turned it on late in the game, but early both teams really struggled to move the ball, and so I think that's definitely good news for Arkansas as now they sit 3-1, 1-0 in conference, but definitely bad news for Auburn because if they're going in any direction, it's definitely the bad direction.
Looking much brighter for the Razorbacks.
100%.
Mizzou wins 30-27 in overtime over Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, please quit being Vanderbilt. Blake Craig for Mizzou missed 3 field goals, made 2 in overtime. 226 for Brady Cook passing. Nate Noel, who was that guy from last year?
Yeah.
We don't even remember his name now, do we?
No.
At Mizzou. Nate Noel, 199 rushing. Vandy could be 4-0, but they're not. Both off this week, both Vandy and Mizzou.
Yeah, Vandy's gonna Vandy 2 weeks.
Vandy
in a
could be
row.
4-0.
They really could, Brett. And 2 weeks ago it was the really off showing from this year's team against Georgia State, and now this week it's the Shank field goal in double OT, and this Vanderbilt team played really well. I mean, they were in this game by all accounts.
My golf bag weighs more than that kicker weighs.
Oh man, tiny guy, and just couldn't get anything going. Diego Pavia, I still love this guy. Really fun quarterback to watch. And you're right, Nate Noel could be the story of the season for Missouri. It felt like it was around this time that we started talking about Cody Schrader last year.
Good point.
And so,
Real good point.
He could really fill that role, and that'd be massive for Missouri if he can.
Tennessee wins 25-15 at Oklahoma, 151 yards rushing for the Volunteers, only 36 yards rushing for Oklahoma, a place that's produced that many great running backs, relegated to 36 yards rushing, 3 OU turnovers, 3 of 15 on third down for Oklahoma. Nico was good enough. Dylan Sampson, 92 yards, 1 touchdown. Jackson Arnold, rough game and pulled OU this week at Auburn, Tennessee off.
Yeah, it's a rough spot. You mentioned it for Auburn. Oklahoma, even though they're 3-1, they're kind of in the same boat. They've not looked good. This is not a 3-0 that you're excited about. This is a 3-0 that you're really worried about if you're Oklahoma. When you have to pull your starting quarterback that last year, when he played in the bowl game, everyone had high hopes for him. He did not look good. Tennessee did not play their best game either. They looked good in the first half, did not look great in the second half, but I think that just shows how strong Tennessee can be. I've been really impressed with the way they've played through the first 4 games of the season, but definitely a big one coming up for Oklahoma. They definitely need a win against Auburn.
A&M wins at home 26-20 over Bowling Green. You often hear we're the best 4-5 team in the country. A&M is the worst 3-1 team in the country. Marcel Reed, 2 touchdowns passing. A&M outrushed Bowling Green 235-89. Marcel Reed added 91 this week. A&M and the Razorbacks in Arlington.
Yeah, it's going to make for a really interesting game this weekend when they take on Arkansas, because you took the words right out of my mouth.
Fork in the road in Arlington?
It could be. I mean, this third Saturday, Brett.
Fourth Saturday.
Excuse me, fourth Saturday. Jeez.
The famed fourth Saturday in September.
Good
Fork in the
Lord.
road game.
For it feels like for everybody. But, you took the words out of my mouth. Texas A&M, they might be 3-1, but they have not looked good all year long. Nobody. And to only go out and beat a really bad Bowling Green team by 6 points, it's going to make for a really, really fun one against Arkansas.
I'll bet you it was hot in College Station, Texas Saturday.
Let's
get a law. No afternoon games.
No more.
South Carolina 50-7 over Akron. Enough said.
That's enough said. Yes.
The South Carolina, their defensive ends. That is a duo.
That sure
They're
is.
coming off that edge really hard. Open date for South Carolina this weekend. Ole Miss 52-13 over Georgia Southern. That's about enough said on that one too. 4 touchdowns passing for Jackson Dart, 2 to Trey Harris, 1 to Jordan Watkins, 1 to Juice Wells. 11 penalties for Ole Miss, and when they wanted to run straight ahead, Georgia Southern had some resistance this week at home against Kentucky. Thank goodness this non-conference part of the schedule is over.
Yeah, no, it's behind you, and we've been talking about for a really long time. You know, Ole Miss needs a challenge, and now that they get into conference play, they'll certainly pick up a little bit.
Texas Longhorns win 51-3 over UL Monroe. Arch Manning, first college football start. It was 56 years to the day since his grandfather made his first college football start at the Liberty Bowl Stadium against the Tigers in 1968. How about that?
That's incredible.
Arch was good.
He was good.
Jaden Blue was better. 3 touchdowns rushing, 124 yards rushing for Texas this week. Texas, they host Mississippi State.
Yeah, no, Arch was good. He tosses 2 touchdowns, did throw 2 interceptions. Jaden Blue, a really good game for him. On the other side, General Booty, not a good game for him. Only 42 yards passing and 1 INT. But Texas continues to roll, and we'll see what they can do once they start getting into conference play.
That's our look back at the weekend of the SEC. On next Monday at 4:30, we'll do the same on Fork in the Road weekend from the SEC. Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the hometown teams, the Grizzlies and the Tigers, the Mid-South's largest selection of one-of-a-kind jewelry, whether it's engagement rings, necklaces, earrings, wedding bands, that 9,000 square foot store in Laurelwood with expanded lines for Rolex, Cartier, diamonds, and more. And we're soon to be back at FedEx Forum, where we have the FedEx. At FedEx Forum, you have the Sissy's Log Cabin floor seat lounge. Unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and an extraordinary shopping experience, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Well, let's get to another break. When we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11, here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Sometimes you just want the naked facts, like the fun that comes from the quick and nimble 2024 Honda CB500F. This naked-style street bike sports a narrow 471cc twin, along with a sleek TFT display, dual-disc front brakes, and standard ABS, all at an affordable price. Find fun in all the right places in the 2024 Honda CB500F. Available at DeSoto Honda, 5656 Women Road in Olive Branch.
We're here with David Cooper, Vice President of Genesis Diamonds. David, we're familiar with iconic brands. Are there designers for engagement rings?
Absolutely. Like every other industry, there are 10 renowned bridal designers who have been leading the industry for years. They're trusted, respected, and exclusive. Every jewelry store wishes to help.
So what makes these designer engagement rings so desirable?
These designers drive a surge of customers to the store, making it the place to be. They attract shoppers who value quality, sophistication, and the ability to express their individuality.
Customers find these engagement rings in other stores?
Absolutely. Other stores would love to help. They have to sell for what they can get, not what they wish to have.
So Genesis is cornered the market.
Certainly. World-class exclusive selection from $1,900 complete rings to $250,000 celebrity rings. These bridal designers are the one to create these one-of-a-kind rings specifically to showcase
Genesis Diamonds, operator markets extended.
Summer may be over, but yard work, it goes on. Don't worry, Colonial Hardware makes it easy for you. Colonial Hardware has all the lawn and garden tools you need from the best brands in the business. Ferris, Snapper, Husqvarna, Toro, Echo, Shindaiwa, and Billigo. Servicing most brands of lawn equipment, Colonial's master service techs will keep you going year-round. Colonial Hardware, family-owned and operated, and serving you for nearly 50 years. Based in Mansboro, Lincoln, and Sycamore View, and online at colonialhardwareinc.com.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. If you are a first-time guest or have dined with us countless times, I want to thank you for making us part of your lives. Whether you're celebrating with the crowd or planning a cozy date night on the town, Napa Cafe can provide you an extraordinary evening. We have 5 dining rooms, including our private wine cellar, our Jan's room for 2 guests, and the Eleanor room for parties up to 60. Sit back, relax, and celebrate. Leave the cooking to us. Come see me at Napa Cafe, 5101 Sanderlin Avenue. We're open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. We also offer curbside pickup from our full menu. For details on our stay-in, dine-out menu or reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe in 2024. We can't wait to serve you.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But if you could get both, why not? Especially when it comes to health care, and that is MediShare. You get both. Many families save $500 a month with MediShare, and that's huge. But it's also true that people wind up way more satisfied, too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. That's because MediShare works. It has for more than 30 years. It's a community of Christians who have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth. They love the huge PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price in 2 minutes. Here's the number. Just call 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE, 855-51-BIBLE.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Five Ash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Wilson's Pro Wash, the residential and commercial pressure washing service and control. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand.
It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
I'm going to start, Brian. I'm going to start with my big number being 56. We want you to listen to Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. But Saturday 56 was an ugly number.
It was an ugly number.
Not only allowing that many points to Navy, but Seth Hennigan having to throw the ball 56 times.
Yeah.
Tigers can't win with him chunking around 56 times. Very few can. Very few can.
No, you don't want your quarterback going anywhere near, no matter who your quarterback is. This day and age of college football, you do not want them getting up that number. Yes, that is not a good 56. Sports 56, good 56. That 56, not a good one. Well, my big number is 24, and this comes alongside some breaking news. About an hour ago, Shams Charania reported that the Memphis Grizzlies are waiving former NBA MVP Derrick Rose, sources tell The Athletic. And now, within the last 10 minutes or so, Drew Hill from the Daily Memphian is reporting that Derrick Rose and the Memphis Grizzlies agreed to a buyout after Rose asked to be let out of his contract, a source confirms. Memphis should have the opportunity moving forward to add another player later. Scottie Pippen Jr. also impressed this summer. So you might ask now, what is that 24? That is how many games Derrick Rose played in as a Memphis Grizzly, which I think
that's rough.
We would have all taken the over easily on 24 and a half games played as a Grizzly last offseason when he signed that 2-year deal.
Yeah, it just didn't have anything left. No. And sadly it happens. It's Chevy truck season in Olive Branch at All-Star Chevrolet, where all the Chevy trucks are. Every new Silverado you're looking for. Come drive a few and then drive off in the one that you love. Financing as low as 1.9%, no payments for 90 days. That's 0 payments for 90 days. Your good credit deserves it at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch. First exit on Highway 78. You cross over into Mississippi, take Graff Goodman Road, and you're there in time for tailgating at the next big football weekend. All-Star Chevy with the best tailgating Tahoes around. If you're law enforcement, military, recent grad, first responder, healthcare worker, you get a $500 bonus back. Come check out all the huge, and I mean huge, pre-owned section that they have at All-Star. All the brands, Fords, Nissans, Jeeps, Toyotas, cargo vans, and a ton of pre-owned Silverados. And if you got any vehicle you want to sell, bring it to All-Star, whether you bought it there or not, and they'll give you the most money for it. Don't miss the Chevy truck season sale going on right now in Olive Branch at All-Star Chevrolet. For more information, go to allstarautogroup.com.
Well, we need to get to a break and wrap up our second hour. When we come back to start our 5 o'clock hour, we're talking more Tiger football. Jonah Dillon, Tiger football beat reporter over at the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us. We'll talk about the loss against Navy, this weekend's game against Middle Tennessee, and also the Tigers' decision, the University of Memphis' decision to remain in the American rather than going to the Pac-12. We'll do all of that next on Sports Time.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes.
Good afternoon. It's gotten a little bit more crowded in the last few minutes. Trying to get out of the Midtown area in certain spots like 240 southbound at South Parkway. It's picked up with more volume as you continue 40 east. Good afternoon. It's gotten a little bit more crowded in the last few minutes. Trying to get out of the Midtown area in certain spots like 240.
Wilson's concealer services so they stay looking brand new. Call Wilson's Pro Wash, 1-524-6799, or online at wilsonsprowash.com.
When you think about insurance and you want great value without sacrificing great service, I want you to think one place: the Eflin Insurance and the entire Eflin Insurance team. Matt and his group of professionals will access 10 leading companies to find the right home and auto program that fits your budget and your absolute needs. The Eflin Insurance Team, the number 386-GER, 386-4777.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's gotten a little bit more crowded in the last few minutes. Trying to get out of the Midtown area in certain spots like 240 southbound at South Parkway. It's picked up with more volume as you continue 40 east here at Sycamore View Road all the way out to Germantown. Parkway still looks good at the moment on 240 getting onto 385. Billmore's Parkway going outbound. Weimer's Jewelry 7525 Highway 64 is your full service family owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on time traffic.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years. of Cashew Crunch, of Heavenly Hash, of Turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double dip peanuts, and then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant, and they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to, 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown, and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Dacus.
Say you stand by your man.
We're back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now to talk some Tiger football, Jonah Dillon, Tiger football beat reporter for the Commercial Appeal, joins us now. Jonah, thanks so much for joining us. A lot to get to during this segment with everything that's happened over the last couple of days. But let's start with that game against Navy. Memphis comes off that high of beating Florida State. It was the center of discussion pretty much all week last week, that and the Pac-12 news, and it felt like everybody kind of forgot about the game against Navy. Then we get to Saturday afternoon, and ultimately the Tigers fall on the road. What was your biggest takeaway from that loss against Navy?
Yeah, well, first of all, that feels like ages ago with everything that's happened in the past couple of days. I'm trying to even remember it. Yeah, I mean, the biggest takeaway is the performance of the defense, right? I mean, we talked about how impressive that defense had looked, Memphis defense, and how dominant they'd been in the first 3 games of the season, how the team's identity had completely shifted to this defense and what they were doing, and they were performing one of the best units in the country, and it made sense. And then they go to Navy, and obviously you're playing against a unique offense. And again, this is not the Navy offense we've seen in the past couple of years. Like what was happening was not the triple option. There were elements of that, and there were hybrid things going on, but that was not the triple option. And they just got dominated. I mean, it's just flat out. The Navy offense was dynamic. They were just consistently able to find wide open spaces. Blake Horvath was unbelievable, as dominant a performance against Memphis as I can remember. And it was just stunning to see the turnaround from what we saw against Florida State and then what we saw in that game. Obviously, you know, the Tigers came back. It was close. They put up points offensively. But overall, just the way that the defense kind of got dominated, that has to be the starting point and the biggest takeaway.
Jonah, unbelievably, the Navy offensive line really had its way with the Memphis defensive line, and that just, you know, makes everybody quake at the idea of the rest of the year, because the Memphis will face better offensive lines the rest of the year than the Navy line.
Yeah, and the thing is, people say, well, okay, Navy plays this unique offense, so you can kind of put that behind you. That's true to some extent, but there's also the aspect of, look, every team that's going to play Memphis the rest of the season is going to watch the film from this game and say, okay, wait a second, like there's things that can be exploited there. Now, Memphis was playing a different style of defense. If you really watched it, like Taj Rael, who's basically a safety, was playing up at the line of scrimmage almost all the time, and then you had Matt Hudson, a linebacker, on the other side. So essentially, you've got 5 people up at the line of scrimmage, and what Navy is doing is they're just trying to confuse you with motions and fakes and maybe, you know, triple option type things, especially with the ability to throw the ball. And so all the people at the line of scrimmage, what that meant was that there was space behind them in the defense. Memphis secondary has not really been tested so far this season. And obviously going against Navy, you expect them to run the ball a lot. You don't think the secondary is going to be important. Well, there were Navy receivers just wide open consistently in the middle of the field. And I think Blake Horvath, he only threw the ball, I think, 12 times, but they were big pass plays down the field when they wanted to. And so that ability to fake handoffs, throw the ball for the quarterback run game, those are things that a lot of teams that Memphis is going to play the rest of the season. And I mean, you look at South Florida and Byron Brown, who wants to run the ball 15, 20 times a game. Mm-hmm. They're going to have watched that and said, okay, this is something that we can exploit, not just, you know, with the Navy offense, but with against this defense and how they're going to play moving forward.
Yeah, it's a couple of quarterbacks that have to be salivating at watching that tape. Now they watch FSU and other games, maybe a little different hue on things. But shockingly for Navy Saturday, one of the things from the box score that just jumped out at me third down efficiency, they were 3 of 6. They were only in 6 third downs all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They just pretty much everything they did, it felt like it was not only were they moving the ball, because the Navy offense that's the thing before the game you talk about how do you beat this Navy team, is that a lot of times, especially in the past, they've been built to kind of gain 4 yards and then gain 4 yards and then run it up your throat again. And you take them 3 plays to get 11 or 12 yards and they get a first down and they possess the ball for a long time. This wasn't about that. This is about explosive plays. A 90-yard touchdown run. That's not something that we would associate with how they normally play in terms of ball control. And that was the thing going into the game. We talked about, okay, if Navy's going to win, even I talked to Brian Newberry last week before the game, and he said, if we're going to win, we're going to have to possess the ball. That's what it's going to be about. They didn't really do that. I mean, that wasn't how they won the game. They won the game by just overwhelming Memphis offensively. And so that's why it was kind of surprising, because there was a pathway to see Navy doing that ball control game and grinding out a win. This was not grinding out a win. This was an explosive shootout-type dominant performance.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Now you look at the running back group for the Tigers, a group that was so deep before the season started. You lost Sutton Smith very early in the season. Now it sounds like Greg DeWosier could miss a couple of weeks. You saw Brandon Thomas nearly double his carries in this game alone against Navy than he had in the first 3 games of the season. He looked really good in that game. Mario Anderson and Brandon Thomas both had over 100 yards rushing. What does that running back position now look like moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, that was a bright spot, obviously, having those 2 guys rush for over 100 yards. Those are both very capable running backs. And so I don't think it's as doom and gloom as it seems in terms of Memphis's depth, and they have ability with those 2 guys. Now, the thing is, they do similar things, and what Memphis obviously wanted to do with Sutton Smith and Mario Anderson at the beginning of the season, and then more so with Greg DeWosier when Sutton Smith went out, was to have different kind of things going on and a change of pace type back. Brandon Thomas, obviously, a lot of fans know him as being the goal line back from the past couple of seasons. Now, he can do more than that. If you go back to his freshman year, obviously he was the number 1 running back. So he's a complete running back, and he can handle that kind of a load. But now you're looking at 2 guys who are doing similar things, so it's just going to be Brandon Thomas kind of spelling Mario Anderson when he needs it. I think they would like to find somebody else who can contribute in kind of that third down back pass catching role, because that's something that they're missing. Mario Anderson has shown he can do some of that. But obviously, again, Sutton Smith, Greg DeWosier, those are 2 really good pass catchers and 2 guys who can line up in different places. That's why you saw Jacoby Banks, who's a receiver, lining up as a running back. I think we could see more of that as they try to figure out how to kind of get everyone on the same page in terms of that. And then eventually the question is, are we going to see Makari Botifer, who's a true freshman running back? I think ideally they'd like to redshirt him, but obviously if there were to be one more injury with Mario Anderson or Brandon Thomas, it feels like he would have to come in, and that would be an interesting one to see how that would play out. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You look at depth. If you have 4 good running backs, that's pretty good. Suddenly 2 are gone, and now you're almost at a crisis point. And so that's kind of what they've hit so far. And I think, yeah, one more injury would be really damaging.
Jonah Dillon with us from the Commercial Appeal. He's on the Tiger football beat, and he's on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. He's with us every Monday during the good and the bad. And Jonah, I started the show today with the comment, there was a point late Friday night and playing text tag with some. I really believed today that we were going to be talking about the Tigers defeating Navy, maybe in a plucky game, a narrow win. And then tomorrow or into the middle of the week, I was told Tuesday, the announcement of in the pack. We don't have either to talk about.
Things change, Cat. Things change really quickly in college sports. That's the one thing that I've learned. And you just never know. Obviously, look, this wasn't losing to Navy. It wasn't a playing game into the Pac-12, but as some people are seeming to suggest. But look, it's just crazy how quickly, and obviously we can get into the Pac-12 stuff. It's just crazy how much is going on all the time. And then, look, it goes back to when the Pac-12, when the news broke about those Mountain West teams. We just woke up one day and it was like, yeah, there's 4 new teams in the Pac-12, and just set off this whole chain reaction, right? And then we're still talking about it now. And man, yeah, it's been a day today. It's been a whatever last couple weeks. Yeah, it's been something.
Yeah, it absolutely has. What would you make of the decision? It feels like definitely a financial decision. We've now learned that the uncertainty about television networks for the Pac, the only $2.5 million that the Pac was going to pay towards those exit fees, and even some of the uncertainty about travel costs. Some people estimating up to $2 million for travel if you join the Pac. What do you make of the decision by Memphis?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see some of the response, like all that stuff that you mentioned. That was mostly all known before.
Mm-hmm.
Some people were looking past it, which is obviously fine. And I think ultimately it comes down to this was a difficult decision. There were a lot of things on both sides. Basically, everybody who's saying this was a no-brainer for any reason, I don't think has a full understanding of what was going on here, because it just wasn't. There's just a lot of things that play into how these decisions are going on and how people are deciding conferences, because these are huge decisions to make. And ultimately, look, if Memphis left and went to the Pac-12, you're giving up a chance to potentially go to another conference, because they're not going to take you just to let you leave again, right? There's probably going to be a grant of rights that needs to be signed. Now, you go back to the TV deal, like, again, this was happening weeks before this, and the idea that this is coming out today from some people is interesting, because there was skepticism across the entire industry about what the TV deal was and is going to be for the Pac-12. Like, it's very difficult to go out and get a TV deal, with teams that you're not selling specific teams. Obviously, they're hoping to have that finalized when they go try to sell it. But, what is the market for that? Who is actually going to pay for it? Because ESPN, it's not going to be ESPN. A lot of these streaming services, they're looking for a top-end product, and they want the whole thing. Like, you look at what the deals that Apple does, and this Pac-12 deal is not going to be either of those things. And so, yes, they'd have leverage because they'd probably be the only deal that they're trying to get at that time in college rights. But they also don't have every network and streaming service available as an actual partner. And so in terms of leverage, it's tough to see where they were going to get that and how they were going to get more money. And so then if you're Memphis, it again goes back to how these discussions have been playing out for weeks. How do you decide, okay, maybe we make a little bit more money in the Pac-12, or they can convince us that they're going to get more money? Then you have the travel cost, the potential of not being on ESPN, which is a major selling point of the American right now, is that, look, Memphis has been playing a lot of its games on ESPN or on an ESPN network, and the visibility, that kind of thing is really important for recruiting, because that's how you sell people on this is what you can happen if you come to this school. And so there's a lot that goes into it. I think it was a tough decision, and it looks like obviously they took their time with figuring out, took their time to the extent that they could. And I wrote about this today, but to me, like, this is the ultimate thing was, if you're going to say no to the Pac-12, it's because you're hoping that in the future you're going to get into a power conference. Right now it looks like that means the ACC. And so the question is Memphis going to get to the ACC? And I know a lot of fans say, no, it's over, there's no chance. Look, right now Memphis isn't going to the ACC. In the future, is it possible? It's definitely possible. And I think ultimately when we look back on how Ed Scott performed as athletic director, that's going to be the question that's going to kind of define it.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right, but definitely an interesting decision. So when you look at this as football team, and the loss on Saturday, and now it seemed like a lot of people disappointed on social media and kind of what we've heard about Memphis not joining the Pac. Give me some positive news. After all of this maybe negative news, is there any positive news out there in terms of Memphis football?
Yeah, there's definitely, look, there's positive news. They lost one game, and again, like I wrote about this after the game, like the idea that it's just over, the whole season is over now, it's just not the case.
That's
like,
right.
And there's still a path to get to the AAC title game. There's still a path to get to the college football playoff. Now, obviously, it's narrowed, and to some extent, they lost control of their destiny. But if Memphis can turn this run and go win 11 games, like, this is going to be a team at the very least in the thick of the playoff race. So it's not 100% doom and gloom in terms of what's going on the field. Hopefully, they can get some guys back from injury. That would be big. Obviously, Elijah Herring missing another game, and they were able to perform without him against Florida State. You have to think he would have helped with the tackling against Navy. That would have been big. And then the running backs. You talked about it, like, having those two guys rush for 100 yards. There was a time a couple seasons ago when Memphis didn't have a single game where anybody rushed for 100 yards, and you just had two guys do it in one game. And you had two receivers with 100 or more receiving yards in Rock Taylor and Kobe Drake, which is also important because nobody had done that yet this season. And so, look, they put up 44 points. If the passing attack can continue to be on that track, like they weren't, they weren't really at that level the first couple of games of the season. It looked like they got that on track. So if they can continue to put up those kind of points, you have to think that defensively they'll figure some things out. And this is still going to be a really good football team. I think that Navy team is a lot better than they're getting credit for. And so if they go win 10 games or something, then that loss isn't going to look that bad at the end of the season.
Jonah, you make me feel better already because Mr. Summertime Positivity took one right to the chops this weekend.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's look, it was a.
I was getting fitted for a ring, a Tiger playoff-bound ring this time last week, and now I'm just as bluesy as I can be about it.
Well, I think it's crazy. Like, it just, again, goes back to what we were talking about before in terms of how quickly things change. I looked a week apart on tweets that I sent after the Florida State game. I sent out a tweet of Tigers fans celebrating, and somebody replied and said they should build Silverfield a statue. A week later, I tweeted about the game, and they said he should be fired. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, it's college football in a nutshell right there.
Tell me this. Does anybody ever mention Reggie Grimes?
Not much. I mean, look, he's been involved on kind of the periphery. It was one of those things when we got to the first week of the season, he was on the depth chart. It was a bit of a surprise. They basically said that they wanted to be involved, and they think he's going to play a lot of football, but he just hasn't. And look, the defensive line has played well. Javon Dennis and William Whitlow have been the guys there. They've done a good job so far, and there's obviously been rotation with Cormonte Hamilton and others. I wouldn't be surprised after seeing what we saw on Saturday if there was some more rotation or other guys getting a shot, and so maybe he could be one of those guys who gets involved.
Today around the building at the media availability, what was it a pall over it? Is it hope? Is it just one game? What was the general mood? Because it had to be vastly different than last Monday.
Yeah, and I think, look, Ryan Silverfield is going to come out and say all the right things, obviously, and kind of put on a positive spin to everything that's gone on. And there are reasons to believe that this was a one-off type of game, starting with Navy's offense being unique. The fact that they had a bunch of plays that they hadn't shown before, which Ryan Silverfield talked about, the fact that they had a bye week coming into this. And so, again, if I'm a Memphis fan, I'm going to watch Navy the next couple of weeks and see how they perform and see if this was a one-time thing or if Navy's just a really good football team, which, based on what we saw, I think it's probably the latter. So I think that there's a lot of positivity. Look, this week is expected to be a blowout win. That Middle Tennessee team has not looked good so far this season. They're obviously rebuilding. And then it's going to be assuming they get through that, it's going to be a 2-week kind of stretch for that South Florida game, which is at this point, you can't really afford to lose another conference game. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to get to that game on the road, and then we know what that offense is capable of. That's going to be the kind of game where there's going to be real nerves and real stress on Memphis' part because, look, if we're talking in early October and saying that the season is over, something has gone very wrong based on how we were talking about this team in the offseason, how we were talking about this team last week, right? And so it definitely kind of takes away your margin for error, takes away your mulligan, so to speak, and now you've got to play with that desperation every single week.
What scares me, Jonah, is to get into another year of kind of rat race games, got to win 55-50, because I just don't think I think this, over 2 years it will even out. A lot of them went the Tigers' way last year. You playing enough of those Lulu games, it eventually evens out.
Yeah, and look, like this I was kind of thinking as Memphis got the ball back on that onside kick, you go down the field and win. And at that point, it really felt like Memphis was just going to win, and it was going to be one of those crazy things. But you look at the North Texas game last year, right? Memphis has a complete meltdown in the second half, had really no right to win that game, and then goes down the field with 40 seconds left, and Seth Hennigan leads a touchdown drive, and Memphis wins, and everyone's kind of looking around stunned. It felt like that, and so it felt like, oh, they're going to do it again, and they didn't. And like you said, look, every time in college or in the pros, almost every single time, there's a team that has a crazy ratio of winning close games, especially right at the end. The next year, it doesn't happen anymore. And it's not that the team is worse or anything. It's just that that's how it works. You can't just expect to win games like that every single season because just a lot of it comes down to chance. And so they could have won that game on Saturday. And look, I wonder how we'd be talking about the team if Seth Hennigan goes down the field and leads a touchdown drive and they win the game there, because all those defensive problems, they would still exist, and everything that happened still would have happened. But I think that's how close it is. That's what the margins are, is that one drive ends up defining the way that we're talking about this team. And realistically the way we're going to continue to talk about this team until they go into that South Florida game, because this weekend is not expected to be a significant test. And so we're going to go back to this Navy game and think, have they corrected those problems when they have to go play against another really good offense in South Florida?
Yeah. I'm talking to Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat reporter for the Commercial Appeal. Jonah, you mentioned a couple of these guys. Elijah Herring was out for that game against Navy. Greg DeWosier, we already kind of mentioned him. It sounds like he could miss a couple of weeks. But also Rock Taylor and Kobe Drake, probably the two receivers that Seth trusts the most, got kind of banged up in that game against Navy. What is the update for them injury-wise? And for all four of these guys, I guess especially those two receivers and Elijah Herring, do you think we could see them maybe held back a little bit this weekend against Middle Tennessee State because of the maybe margin of victory?
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be surprising. I would think that that's going to go into those discussions about how they want to move forward with this. Elijah Herring was at the game on Saturday. He was in uniform on the sideline, which leads me to believe that he was close to being able to play and maybe could have played if it came down to it. So I would think he's got a shot to play on Saturday. Kobe Drake and Rock Taylor both went out, I believe, in the fourth quarter. Kobe Drake looked like it was a groin right at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And they were obviously very, very involved and had played a lot of snaps and made a lot of catches. And so he didn't, and based on what Ryan Silverfield said today, it doesn't sound like there's anything long-term with those guys. Then you saw at the end of the game all sorts of receivers coming in, right? And so Brady Cluse, true freshman, is in there making catches in the fourth quarter. So it's possible we could see some of that on Saturday. Obviously, they're not going to go into the game thinking, let's just rest our starters from the beginning of the game, because you can't do that, and you got to make sure that you have the game in hand. Again, You never know. This is college football after all, so you don't want to guarantee any victories. But it sounds like they should be back, and it won't be long term. Greg DeWosier, it sounds like, is going to be longer. I wouldn't expect him to play on Saturday, and then hopefully, they can get him back for South Florida with the bye week. But that seems like definitely going to be up in the air at that point.
Jonah, I really did. After getting the onside kick, I said they're going to win. Seth's going to pull this out again.
It just felt like that's what's going to happen. It's just like, oh, of course, this is going to happen, because that's just what has happened to this team the past couple of years.
And we may be more excited today after that than last week, because in that dream year, you have to steal one or two, and I thought they were going to do it.
Yep, and that's why, again, it would have been so crazy the way that happened with the onside kick, and you're talking about Caden Costa, the kicker, recovering his own onside kick, and just kick, the way when you do that kind of one where you just kick it straight and you hope that the guy tries to get it and drops it, and it happened exactly how you hope. And then suddenly it's like, well, the offense has played amazing the past couple minutes, right? They just consistently driven down the field in the fourth quarter, and they're coming back on the field. It's like, this is it. Navy's in trouble. You have to think that Navy defense at that point was very concerned, and there's not a lot of confidence at that point based on how many points they'd given up. And that's why college football is so crazy, because you have this idea of how the story is going to go and how the story is going to be that they played badly and the defense had this horrible performance, but they still found a way to win, and they won even though they didn't play well. And if you can win when you don't play well, then what else? You can go as far as the college football playoff, and you're getting there like, okay, it's going to happen, I'm going to do it. And then he gets the interception, returns it for a touchdown. And look, that's why college football is so great, because you just never know what's going to happen. You get the story ready to go, and it sounds like it makes sense and it's perfect, and this is the right thing to happen, and then it just doesn't. And it takes a second, and the whole story is different, and that's what happened in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jonah, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jonah. Jonah Dillon joining us, the Tiger football beat reporter for the Commercial Appeal. Join us to talk that Navy game and also everything that happened today with Tigers sticking with the American. Well, let me remind you, our 5 o'clock hour every day is brought to you by our great sponsors, Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City has been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. Their talented team is ready to help you find your perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, or the 2025 Defender. Test drive the 2025 Range Rover Sport, where luxury luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility, with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635 horsepower. And it's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Also, take a look at the 2025 Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment. The 2025 Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Also, don't forget about the 2025 Defender, available in multiple models to fit your needs. The Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. So give them a call at 877-259-6169. That's 877-259-6169. Or check out the entire selection online at JaguarBluffCity.com to find your next perfect vehicle. We need to grab another break, but when we come back, we'll get to our Monday Night Football pick and preview for both games tonight. 6:30 Jaguars at Bills, and then at about 7:15 or so, that first kick set for Commanders at Bengals. We'll also get to our top 4 coaches all time for these 4 teams. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Whitten Road in Bartlett. Pick up, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or online at 901eats.com. Eats with the Z. Good food fast.
I think a lot about golf, and when I think golf, I think...
Good afternoon. It's pretty crowded over here.
Miramichi Golf Course offers membership. It's a great way to play more golf for less out of pocket. Their memberships run for $300 a month plus tax, and that includes unlimited rounds and range balls, no extra card fees, priority tee time booking, and discounts in the pro shop. Oh, by the way, there's no initiation fee. Miramichi green fees, they'll allow you to choose the right rate at the right time on the right day for your needs. If morning tee times are more important, you can book up to 14 days ahead of time to reserve your spot. If rate is more important to you, there are discounted evening rates available that you can choose from. You'll find the lowest rates on Tuesday through Thursday afternoons. Sometimes you just need to escape the hustle and bustle of life. Miramichi Golf Course provides just the right place to solve that need. The name Miramichi means place of happy retreat. When you need a quiet, peaceful round of golf, please make your way to Miramichi.
Something amazing is happening in education. Students are inspired and engaged. That's because school districts consulted with CDW, who designed modern classroom solutions with pre-configured HP devices, making learning more accessible, secure, and immersive. Now when students study topics like elephants, it feels like elephants are there with them. HP and CDW. Make amazing happen. Learn more at cdw.com/HPPSG.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Wash your house, wash your office building? Impossible! Not if you call Wilson's Pro Wash. Your house, fence, driveway, warehouse, store, hotel, even cars and trucks can all be squeaky clean and beautiful after pressure washing by Wilson's Pro Wash. Wilson's specializes in cleaning all hard surfaces, concrete, stone, brick, and mortar, even wood and vinyl siding. Then Wilson's can seal their surfaces so they stay looking brand new. Call Wilson's Pro Wash, 901-524-6799, or online at wilsonsprowash.com.
Good afternoon. It's pretty crowded over here now. I'm just right on schedule, actually, on 40 East here at Sycamore View Road, out past Germantown Parkway, continuing on out into Fayette County. 240 decided to pick up just a few minutes ago as you get on to 385 Billmore's Parkway. Still a clear shot as you head on out towards Collierville. Weimer's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area now for over 40 years, no matter what the occasion is that's coming up. Check with them first at Weimer's Jewelry out there on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Howard Cosell. Welcome aboard. ABC's Monday Night Football.
Special treat on Monday Night Football. We get two of them tonight. One game that starts at 6:30 just on ESPN, and then at 7:15 on ABC. We get Cincinnati and Washington at 6:30 on ESPN. We get Buffalo and Jacksonville. So we'll pick these two games, and then we'll have our big four, our top four coaches all time for all these franchise playing tonight, all four. not for every one of them, just the four best.
Right.
Is it Vince Lombardi? He coached for Washington at one time.
Sure did.
And he really good with the Packers.
Yeah, made his name with one team. And,
yeah, just one full year with Washington. Paul Brown founded the Cincinnati Bengals, coached them well, and what he did with the Cleveland Browns. We'll get to that after we get to picks this weekend in the NFL. Not very sporty for any of us. Darian, Connor, 2-4. I was 2-4. Bryant, you needed the Chiefs to hang on last night to avert the bagel 1-5.
Oh, Brad, I mean, let's talk about the college football picks. I mean, let's
College football picks a little more sporty for everyone except for me.
NFL,
So let's talk about the NFL picks.
It's professionals, Brad. It's got to be harder to pick. I mean,
College, Bryant and Darian both go 5-1. Both hit college football shop straight up. Darian had James Madison.
How about that?
Scoring 70. Great pick.
College basketball score. How about that?
It was a college basketball score. Right there, kind of on Tobacco Road. Old Lefty Rizell once at James Madison. And Bryant, you had SMU in another college basketball score.
That's right. Pony up. How about that? SMU.
In the pots and pans game.
That's right. They're playing for some sort of pot or pan.
And very college basketball Sonny Dykes got booted.
Sure did, and got booed and heckled as he left. That was you don't see that much in football. You see it a lot in basketball. You don't see it much in football.
If you're an AD, if you're a university president, how would you feel about your college football coach getting tossed? I don't remember it happening.
I was about to say, I mean, watching that video of him exiting was weird to watch because you never see it happen.
Boy, it was the walk of shame, wasn't it?
And right there through the SMU student section, I mean, that was tough.
Tonight on Monday Night Football, two games. The first one starting first, Buffalo -4.5 over Jacksonville. Jacksonville needs something good to happen for them, don't they?
Yeah, they sure do. They need, I don't know if they're going to be able to get a win, but they need something positive to happen for them, that's for sure.
Buffalo 2-0, ugly opening game win, kinda. Had to come from behind at home against Arizona, and then last week, very impressive. I'm going to start with the picks. I'm going to take Jacksonville plus the 4.5, and Connor Dacus takes Jacksonville as well. Darian.
Giving it, Josh Allen's too hot right now. Nope, 4.5, give it.
Okay.
Josh Allen over Trevor Lawrence. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I didn't, but why wouldn't I?
Yeah. I'm also going to go with the Jaguars plus 4.5.
Are you really?
I'll take them. That's right.
Second game starting at 7:15 on ABC. That's the duo of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman calling that game. 7.5 Cincinnati favored. They're 0-2. They need a lot to happen right for them. Connor Dacus takes both dogs tonight, as do I. Give me Washington plus 7.5. It's an NFL team getting 7.5. Run, Brian Robinson, run.
I hope both of you are right, because I'm also going to take the Commanders plus 7.5. Man, I hope you are right.
Darian, group lock?
No, of course not. Big night for me and the Joe Burrows. How about that?
Of course.
No. I think Joe got right against Kansas City. For some reason, I just think he's hot.
We had one NFL group lock. It lost. We all had the Chargers in a narrow game over my Steelers. We're 1-2 on the year on NFL group locks. 4-3 in college as we got there with Tennessee, but did not get there with the Tigers.
No, that was the only loss, and it was the one that we all loved the most, obviously, on Friday. And,
we really did.
Yeah, that one hurt. That one hurt a lot.
It got group thinky and cheerleading.
It sure did. But hey, that's what happens after you win a big game, Brett. I mean, it's just so easy. And then it all comes crushing down.
That was rough, but that's going to be a fun night of football tonight, a long night of football.
Yeah, it sure is. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you can listen to that second game right here on Sports 56, Commanders at Bengals. We'll have coverage of that game starting at 7 o'clock. You get a little bit of a pre-game, and then right into action when they kick off around 7:15, 7:20. That will come up your way right after Rebel Yell tonight.
The coaching assignment. Tough, easy. Did y'all like that? What?
Easy.
Shoot me straight.
Easy. This was easy for me.
I thought tough. It was interesting.
The top three are so ironclad for me.
All right, Darren, you go first.
Yeah,
okay. Absolutely. Well, number one, Joe Gibbs.
No doubt.
No doubt. Number two, Marv Levy.
No doubt.
No doubt. Number three, Tom Coughlin. No doubt.
I got doubt.
Brett, whoa!
So,
whoa.
I got to the fourth one, and by process of elimination, Marvin Lewis.
Okay. Brett?
Number one, Joe Gibbs. I didn't think at all about it.
At all.
Second, Marv Levy. I know 0-4 on Super Bowl Sunday, but Hall of Famer. Pretty good. Not great. Pretty good with the Chiefs. Great with Buffalo. The 4 Super Bowl losses, I know one of them to Joe Gibbs. One of them to Mark Rypien and Joe Gibbs in Washington in Minneapolis at the old Metrodome. So I had Marv Levy, too. I had George Allen 3 with Washington. What he did with Washington and really turned on that college town vibe for hell to old D.C.
Yep.
And had RFK rocking in those years with the Over the Hill gang. And he was really good with the Rams in the 60s. Number 4 for me, got Cincinnati to its second Super Bowl. Forrest Gregg, who played both for Vince Lombardi and then coached in Cincinnati for the Bengals for Paul Brown when Paul Brown ran the team, he got him to the first Super Bowl against the 49ers and Joe Montana up at Silverdome in Pontiac. But I went with Sam Weiss 4. Innovative offensive guy, got the best football ever out of Boomer Esiason, and got the Icky Shuffle for all of us.
That's right. You're absolutely right. Wow. Brett, we're very similar with our big fours. My 1, 2, 3, the exact same as yours. Joe Gibbs, number 1 for me. Marv Levy, 2 for me. And George Allen, number 3. But we are different on number 4. My fourth quarterback for these 4 teams.
Fourth coach,
excuse me. Vince Lombardi. Vince Lombardi, number 4.
Only a year.
Well, Brett, you said something last
but
week.
he did start the culture of turning it around.
You said something, I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, but we did one of these big fours combined, and there was somebody on there. I don't remember who it was. I don't remember what week it was. And there was kind of that debate of, well, do you really consider him as part of this team? Here's the thing, Brett. If you've got the trophy named after you,
that's hard to argue.
I don't care who you coach for. You're on my top 4, and so with that being said, Vince Lombardi, number 4 for me.
Did he coach a year or two? I'm trying to
one.
look.
Yeah, it was 1
year.
Just one, and then he got sick in the second year.
That's right. believe so.
And you hear so many people, especially Jerry Kramer, that played for Lombardi, and they would talk about him, they would refer to him. And I guess, when you're young, you kind of do look at everybody like this. They lovingly would call him the old man. He passed away at 57.
Wow.
Trust me, when you're 62, 57 ain't old.
Oh, that was that's funny. That reminds me of a couple of weeks ago, Brett. You might remember this. I went to a concert in Nashville, and it was my girlfriend wanted to see a performer, and there was a band before them. And I was telling a family friend like that weekend, I said, yeah, that group that was playing before them, I said they need to hang it up. They're all getting old. They're pretty old out there. So she looked up to see how old they are. They're like 42. She was like, that is not very old. Yes, no, I didn't mean it like that, but yes.
But I know there's a time in your life where, heck, people over 40 seem old.
Sure, but also at the same time, being called the old man when you're in your 50s.
Yeah,
that's something.
Well before that, I'm talking in prime Packer years, Super Bowls 1 and 2, when he was 54, 55. They were affectionately and lovingly calling him the old man.
Sure.
Here's something. You get a good. Y'all both get a good long run. You'll run into this. There are so few people now in my life that I still call Mister.
Interesting.
And I do it on a regular basis, even to younger people. I even do
it. And there was a time in my life where everybody was a Mister.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's why I do it. Correct.
I've got very few, Misters left.
Sure. I was faced with I got called Mister in terms of like somebody's child the other day. And I was like, they were like, yeah, I was at church yesterday, and it was one of my buddy's sons, and he was like, can I run? And he was like, sure, but stop when you get to Mr. Bryant. I was like, I don't like that.
Mr. B.
Don't do that.
Where do you get a nickname? Where is Mr. B?
I'm far good rearing out there, and we all are, but I regret that I don't have many people left. I'm sad, but actuarial tables really matter.
Well, it comes into play, Brett.
It does.
Certainly does.
Brett, you guys were right. Vince Lombardi, 69 record, 7-5-2. That was his record.
Winning record
for the 1 year. But listen to the names right before him: Otto Graham, coach.
Wow.
And Curly Lambeau.
How about that?
How about that?
Oh, curls.
Washington and the Steelers in those days were the jokes of the league. Steelers got it right a few years after that with Chuck Noll, and Washington thought it was getting it right with Vince Lombardi, and then tapped into George Allen and his enthusiasm and how he teed it up with Tom Landry and the Cowboys and that rival, and it made D.C. fall in love with Washington and treated it like a college team.
You're absolutely right, and I thought you gave good reason. I feel like I didn't even need to give my reasonings behind having George Allen at 3. I thought I was going to have to, but you set it up perfect for me.
His Ram year's good, and I think he came up. I think George Allen came up through kind of as his mentor, Papa Bear, with the Bears, and it was a big miss. The Bears always thought a couple times, not landing him as their guy.
Interesting.
I think that's the case.
Before he was head coach, Allen served as assistant coach for Sid Gilman and George Halas.
Yeah, well, that's two pretty good mentors there.
Sure is.
Whew, that's a lot of football wattage. Sid Gilman and Papa Bear.
Yeah, that is some good guys to learn from. But tonight's going to be interesting as we see the two games on Monday night again.
How about Sean McDermott on outside looking in as Big Four?
It could be.
Won the division 4 or 5 years in a row.
Sure did. But
all-time percentage.
Do something in January.
Gotta do something in postseason if you want to be regarded as one of the best. And that's, because I did think about him, and that was, I had to immediately say, nah. You gotta do something.
I thought about he as well as Dougie P. I thought about Doug Peterson as well, but
I just haven't been sold on
Tom Coughlin
him the last couple of years.
Good with the Jags, got him to an AFC Championship game. But his big notoriety came with the Giants.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, that's kind of why I left him off my list.
Me
but,
too.
Definitely could have been. He was in the conversation. If I had my short list, he was definitely on the short list for this list. But, no, it should be a lot of fun tonight watching these two games. And one at 6:30, the other starting a little bit after 7 o'clock. So it should be a lot of fun. But that will do it for our Monday Night Football pick and preview. Let's get to our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Hey folks, grab old Penelope and saddle up for the 35th annual Western Trading Days here at Sunrise Buick GMC at Wolf Chase. There's a new sheriff in town and we're slashing prices on over 600 new Buicks and GMC models. You'll get big rebates, huge discounts, and a low APR financing. Get top dollar for your old wagon when you trade in for a new buggy. And financing for just about everyone. Divorce, repo, slow pay, it's all okay at Sunrise. The #1 volume Buick GMC dealership in Memphis, 4 years running. Call, click, or come on into the good-looking store in Bartlett. We make it fun to buy a car.
Financing on approved credit based on 20 through 23 new vehicle sales data.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner. Maybe start with an appetizer like our baked sweet peculiar peppers stuffed with goat cheese and mozzarella, finish with basil pistou, and move on to one of our cozy dishes like the double chocolate stout braised boneless beef short ribs with tonkatsu sauce and creamy mashed potatoes. Or a fresh seafood dish like our pan-roasted ginger-buttered sea bass with cilantro soy vinaigrette. I get hungry just talking about it. Don't forget about dessert, our famous sweet buttermilk pie with brown sugar sauce, or drink your dessert with one of our signature dessert cocktails, like the lemon cheesecake martini, lemony, icy, frothy, and dusted with graham cracker crumbs. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. We can't wait to serve you.
Summer's heating up, and so are the savings at Choate's. We've got 3 incredible offers to make your season spectacular. First up, our Grill and Chill with Choate's Summer Special. Upgrade your HVAC system and choose between a free Yeti cooler or a Green Egg grill on select systems. Then power through any outage with Choate's generators. Be one of the first 50 customers to buy a generator and score a massive 75-inch TV or an iPad. Also, don't forget about our tankless water heater offer. Purchase a tankless water heater from Choate's and receive a premium toilet free. Don't wait. These offers are too good to last. Turn to the experts with Choate's and call 347-8086 or visit us online today for your free estimate. Now introducing Choate's air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and generators. Choate's, let our family serve your family.
You're a contractor and you need concrete coating and supplies in Memphis fast, and you get this answer? I think we can order that stuff, but you're going to have to wait a few days for delivery. Why wait? Get your concrete coatings and supplies now at TSS Supply, where everything you need is in stock. If you're working in the tri-state Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi area, everything you need for concrete coating is at TSS Supply, 5665 East Rains Road, Memphis. TSS Supply specializes only in concrete coatings and supplies all in one place. If you're looking for a particular item, need large quantities, or just have general questions, call 901-729-0565, 729-0565, or you can email your question to Brad at tsssupply.com. The friendly, knowledgeable folks at TSS Supply have over 150 years combined experience in concrete coatings, materials, and supplies. Come by and visit TSS Supply Friday, September 27th. Sports 56 will be broadcasting live from 7 to 10 a.m. with Greg and Eli, and then John Harden from 11 to 1. Sports 56 will have free giveaways plus breakfast and lunch during the live broadcast. TSS Supply, 5665 East Rains Road.
Mitsubishi's final days of summer sales event is about to be gone, so you better hurry to Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. Get 42 MPG Highway and 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage, $17,930 or $299 a month. 2024 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, we Gossett at $27,245 or $349 a month. And get 420 total range MPGE and 2024 Outlander PHEV, $32,750 or $390 a month. Plus, you'll never go wrong with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi today at 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at MemphisMitsubishi.com. That's Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
14,767, MSRP 18,430, Eclipse RZO 65,450, MSRP 28,745, PHEV RZO 66681, MSRP 42,750, includes all rebates and incentives, $1,095 acquisition fee, 25 cents per mile, excess wear and tear, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 695, excludes tax, title, and license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month with approved credit dealer stock only.
Sports Time on Sports 56 and 105 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover. Once again,
this is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today is that the Tigers will stay in the AAC rather than joining the Pac-12, and it came down to financial issues that Memphis thought were bigger concerns than ultimately what would be the positives of joining the Pac-12. It's kind of what we talked about last week and things that I was held up on in terms of going to the Pac-12. What does that money look like? What does the exit fees look like? What does it look like for travel in the future in terms of the additional money you're going to have to spend for that? And ultimately, it felt like the cons outweighed the pros from a financial standpoint. Ross Dellinger reporting that the Pac-12 offered to only pay $2.5 million of the $25 million exit fee for all of the teams that would leave the American. It's been believed that somewhere up to $2 million would be needed to, in terms of travel cost, moving forward joining the Pac-12. You still don't know about TV deals, but at the end of the day, now you're going to remain in the American Athletic Conference where the talent is not near what you would be playing in conference play if you had joined the Pac-12.
Yeah, that was some flurry of news. What I learned today, learned over the weekend, Hugh Freed's now 5-12 in his last 17 matchups versus FBS competition.
Holy
that dates
cow.
back to Liberty, to that Liberty tenure. If he doesn't beat Sam Pittman late in that year, how differently things could look. How he got the Auburn job, I'll never know. Never mind the off the field stuff. His last year at Ole Miss, 5-7 and loaded. That's DK, AJ, DJ. I mean, loaded.
Yep.
But then there was the off the field stuff.
Well,
and really, really something for someone to have that comeback that he had with that scandal, and you're still quoting Deuteronomy.
Well, yes, that is. It makes you question a lot of things, Brad. I can tell you that. What I could have done without. Oh, Darian, your 49ers, the injury news that's coming out. We saw this during the break. It was on ESPN. They were talking about it. Brock Purdy is getting an MRI on his back, so definitely some questions on his availability moving forward. And then I saw this. 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey, who is out right now with Achilles tendonitis, is seeing an injury specialist in Germany, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan. I don't know about you, Brett, but if you have to go all the way to Germany
That's a cry for help.
to see an injury specialist, that's not good news. So it seems like from an injury standpoint, things not going well for the 49ers.
Achilles tendonitis, that sounds very painful.
It does not sound like what I want.
could have done without John Wilner with the San Jose Mercury News. Thank God I don't live in San Jose or in California, and I hope I never meet John Wilner. He's been bad forever wherever he's been. He's an AP voter. Guess where he had USC yesterday?
Oh, geez. Where?
16th.
Oh.
Guess where he had Michigan?
Where?
23rd.
What?
John, if only we had a way of knowing who would be better if those two teams played. Like on Saturday when they played.
Did he? Maybe he was. Maybe there was
What a
some sort
complete
of,
pinhead.
You know, Brett. We had the blackout with ESPN. Maybe he had a blackout or something, and I don't know. That's crazy.
And that's the guy that will lecture
That's
you
right.
about journalism. They played on Saturday, John.
That's insane. Where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me to Cincinnati. Anytime given the choice, I always dodge hideous Buffalo. Joe Burrow is the guy in Cincinnati, and he's got to step up tonight to cover up a lot of things. Two LSU quarterbacks going against each other tonight, two greats.
Yeah, I beam me to this other Monday night football game. If you're going to go to that one, I'll go to the other. Jaguars and Bills. Something's got to give. Can the Bills continue to have their success? Can Jacksonville bounce back from a couple bad losses? We'll see.
Real light night in baseball. Only 4 games, but 3 of the 4, they do impact the postseason.
They absolutely do. So while it's a short slate, will be some good games. But that's all the time we have today. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.
Hello, sports fans out there. Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it, we'd love to have you. Also, our barbecue party packs start at $8.75 a person. Barbecue, beans, slaw, bun sauce, including serving utensils. Especially great for tailgating with football season coming up. The commissary restaurants also believe in giving back to the community. Possibly you have been approached by somebody selling a barbecue 6-pack coupon for fundraising. Cheerleading groups, church groups, anything to help a worthy cause. Holidays are near. Smoked hams and smoked turkeys will be on the pit before you know it. Come see us at Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Also check us out at commissarybarbecue.com.
You know, sometimes I wish I had a gun.
Well, I'm armed, but before I bought one, I still went to Top Gun Academy to learn to protect myself without a gun.
How is that possible?
Top Gun's personal protection training. It's perfect if you want to protect yourself without firearms.
I don't know.
And it's perfect if you feel the need to carry a gun for self-defense, because the last thing you really want to do is shoot.
That is scary.
Not at Top Gun. It's very comfortable, and you learn to load, handle, and shoot a handgun safely. Protect yourself. Go to Top Gun Academy. They're at 2770 Witten Road.
There are jewelry stores, and then there's Genesis Diamonds, the cutting-edge industry leader, the pioneer. Hey, it's Eric Hasseltine, and it's no secret that jewelry stores across America watch what Genesis is doing. Genesis was the first to offer a free lifetime warranty, the first to offer a 120% diamond upgrade guarantee, the first to offer aggressive long-term, zero-interest financing. And Genesis is always on the cutting edge of design and fashion, the styles other jewelers say are new and exciting. New and exciting for Genesis 3 or 4 years ago. Genesis has the fashion-forward brands other stores aren't even allowed to carry. It's no wonder you see jewelers from other stores going to Genesis to see what they're all about. For selection, quality, service, warranties, and guarantees, Genesis leads, others follow. So for diamonds, engagement rings, exclusive designer jewelry for any occasion, and luxury creative complexes, don't compromise. Get to the jewelry that set the industry standards year after year. Get to Genesis Diamonds on Poplar and Markets Extended.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all